Hedonism is an ethical theory that emphasizes the pursuit of pleasure as the highest good. It posits that happiness is the ultimate aim of life, and that pleasure, in its various forms, should be maximized while pain should be minimized. Found in ancient philosophical discourse, hedonism invites us to consider what truly brings joy to our lives. At its core, hedonism can be divided into different branches, each interpreting the concept of pleasure in unique ways. For example, there are ethical hedonists, who argue that actions are morally right if they promote great happiness or pleasure for the greatest number of people. This idea can be tied to utilitarian principles, where the consequences of actions are assessed based on how they affect overall well-being. Aside from ethical considerations, hedonism can also be seen through the lens of psychological hedonism. This perspective suggests that humans are inherently motivated by the desire to seek pleasure and avoid pain. In this view, our choices and behaviors are guided by a subconscious striving for enjoyment. Our decisions, whether we realize it or not, are influenced by what will bring us the most happiness. Consider a simple example. Think about your favorite meal. When you think about indulging in that meal, you might experience a rush of excitement. This desire for pleasure can lead to the decision to treat yourself, symbolizing hedonism in action. This craving for pleasurable experiences can extend beyond food to encompass a wide range of activities, from engaging in hobbies to socializing with friends or enjoying the beauty of nature. Not all pleasures are created equal, however. Some forms of pleasure may lead to long-lasting happiness, while others may provide only temporary satisfaction. For instance, the joy of spending quality time with loved ones might foster deeper emotional connections and memories that enrich your life. In contrast, indulging in fleeting pleasures, like binge-watching a television show, may result in fleeting joy but lack the lasting fulfillment that comes with deeper experiences. Philosophers such as Epicurus advocated for a thoughtful approach to hedonism, suggesting that not all pleasures should be pursued indiscriminately. Epicurus believed in the pursuit of simple, modest pleasures, like enjoying good food in the company of friends, over indulgent excesses. He argued that understanding what desires are natural and necessary can lead us to a more satisfying life. Moreover, hedonism encourages us to explore the various aspects of pleasure, including emotional, intellectual, and spiritual dimensions. Art, literature, and music can provide profound experiences of joy, enriching our understanding of beauty and meaning. When we engage with these forms of pleasure, we might discover a deeper connection to ourselves and the world around us. Throughout history, hedonism has met with criticism. Some argue that a focus on pleasure can lead to selfishness or moral decay, implying that individuals may act solely for personal gain at the expense of others. However, many proponents of hedonism would counter by suggesting that true pleasure often includes the happiness of others as well. In this way, shared experiences and collective joy can enhance our understanding of what it means to live a fulfilling life. Imagine planning a gathering with friends. The anticipation of laughter, conversation, and shared moments of enjoyment can provide a sense of exhilaration. In this case, the pleasure derived from social interactions not only benefits you, but also enhances the experiences of everyone involved. Such moments illustrate how the joy of connection can serve both personal and collective happiness. In modern society, the pursuit of pleasure takes on many forms. With the advent of technology, entertainment options abound, allowing individuals to seek enjoyment in numerous ways. However, the challenge lies in discerning what forms of pleasure provide genuine satisfaction and meaning versus those that might lead to emptiness. As you move through life, consider how experiences shape your understanding of pleasure. Reflect on your pursuits and the joys they bring. You may find that adventure, creativity, and connection create profound happiness, while superficial pursuits can sometimes feel less fulfilling. By cultivating awareness and understanding about your own pleasures, you might discover a richer, more rewarding path. Ultimately, hedonism invites us to explore the myriad ways pleasure can be experienced, suggesting that the quest for happiness is a deeply personal journey. It encourages reflection on what truly brings joy and fulfillment, reminding us to appreciate the small pleasures found in everyday life. As you continue this journey, consider how each moment can hold the potential for enjoyment and connection, offering insights into a richer, more meaningful existence. Nihilism is a philosophical perspective that has intrigued thinkers, writers, and artists throughout history. At its core, nihilism asserts that life lacks inherent meaning, purpose, or objective value. This idea can be both liberating and daunting, prompting deep reflections on existence and our place in the universe. To better understand nihilism, consider the late 19th century philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, who is often associated with this school of thought. Nietzsche famously declared the, quote, death of God, a metaphorical expression of the decline of traditional moral values and beliefs in the Western world. He believed that when societal structures that once provided meaning and purpose begin to crumble, people are often left grappling with a void. This idea still resonates today, as many individuals question the values and beliefs handed down through generations. An essential aspect of nihilism is the rejection of universally accepted truths. Unlike other philosophies that might cling to the notion of an ultimate purpose bestowed by a higher power or the universe, nihilists argue that such beliefs are constructs of human imagination. For example, if we consider the idea of success, different cultures define it in various ways, suggesting that there is no singular blueprint for what it should entail. In the grand tapestry of existence, each individual becomes responsible for creating their standards and values. Nihilism invites us to look beyond the pre-established norms and question their validity. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast ocean, where the waves represent myriad beliefs and values swirling around you. As you gaze out, the horizon appears limitless, suggesting that beyond the surface, the ocean is a realm of unexplored ideas and truths. This visualization may evoke a sense of wonder and curiosity about the nature of existence and our role within it. One of the most prevalent misconceptions about nihilism is that it encourages despair or apathy. However, many nihilists contend that recognizing the absence of objective meaning can empower individuals. This liberation from externally imposed values allows them to construct personal meaning. For instance, think of an artist who creates paintings not to fulfill societal expectations, but as a raw expression of their inner visions and emotions. Each brushstroke becomes an exploration of their unique perspective, emphasizing the importance of individual experience. Consider how nihilism can be reflected in literature and film. Many authors have depicted characters grappling with existential questions, ultimately offering narratives that resonate deeply with readers. Flannery O'Connor's stories often explore themes of morality and the human spirit, creating a rich tapestry of characters that reflect a struggle for understanding in a seemingly indifferent world. In films like The Matrix, characters confront the nature of reality, grappling with questions that echo nihilistic thought. These narratives can remind us that the search for meaning is a journey shared by many. In contemporary society, we can see echoes of nihilistic thought in various forms of art, music, and existential cinema. Musicians often explore themes of disillusionment, questioning societal norms and values through their lyrics. Similarly, filmmakers like Charlie Kaufman play with narratives that challenge conventional storytelling, leading audiences to reevaluate their understanding of reality. These creative expressions encourage viewers to embrace ambiguity and uncertainty as part of the human experience. In discussing nihilism, it's essential to consider its connection to existentialism. While nihilism may suggest a lack of meaning, existentialism takes a step beyond by asserting that individuals can create their own essence through choices and actions. This perspective highlights the importance of personal agency and responsibility in crafting a fulfilling life. For instance, someone may choose to dedicate their time to helping others in their community, finding meaning in service and connection despite a broader worldview that questions objective significance. Nihilism can also serve as a lens through which to examine societal structures and ideologies. As we delve into political and social movements, we might question the frameworks that govern our lives. Are these constructs genuinely reflective of our needs? Are they beneficial, or do they impose limitations on our potential? In this inquiry, nihilism encourages a critical examination of systems, prompting discussions about what we value as a collective society. Ultimately, nihilism invites us to embrace the complexity of existence with open minds and hearts. It encourages curiosity, exploration, and dialogue around life's profound questions. While it may seem unsettling to confront the notion that meaning's not preordained, this realization can cultivate a sense of freedom. We become co-creators of our own narratives, unbound by the constraints of prescribed values. As you ponder these ideas, consider the possibilities that emerge when we accept the ambiguity of life. Each day offers opportunities to redefine what life means to us, shaped by our experiences, interactions, and reflections. In exploring nihilism, we are invited to engage in an ongoing conversation, one that underscores the beauty in our diverse perceptions of existence and the myriad ways we seek connection, fulfillment, and understanding in a constantly evolving world. Absurdism is a philosophical perspective that explores the inherent conflict between human beings' desire for meaning and the irrational, chaotic universe that often seems indifferent to our searches. At its core, absurdism challenges the notion that life has an objective purpose or ultimate meaning. Instead, it suggests that our hunger for significance is met with an uncaring silence from the universe. To understand absurdism better, let's consider the thoughts of Albert Camus, one of its main proponents. He famously illustrated the concept through the myth of Sisyphus, a figure from Greek mythology condemned to roll a boulder up a hill only to watch it roll back down repeatedly for eternity. This story symbolizes the human condition. Many of us might feel like we're pushing our own boulders, engaging in daily routines and struggles that can seem futile. Yet, the essence of absurdism does not lie in despair, but rather in embracing the struggle itself. Let's picture a scene where a composer sits at a grand piano. The notes flow beautifully at first, each chord striking a perfect balance, creating an enchanting melody. However, as the piece progresses, the notes become dissonant, the rhythm falters, and the music descends into chaos. Here, the artist faces a crossroads. Should the composer abandon the piece, disheartened by its imperfections? Or is there beauty in the discord, a reflection of life itself? Absurdism suggests the latter, urging us to find joy and meaning in the act of creation, despite its inevitable discord. Life can often feel like a series of unpredictable events. Imagine someone planning a trip to a peaceful beach, only to be met with unexpected storms. The initial plans dissolve, and frustration builds. But as the clouds part, the vibrant sunset paints the sky in breathtaking colors, revealing how chaos can sometimes lead to stunning beauty. Absurdism teaches us to embrace these twists and turns, reminding us that meaning is often found in how we respond to life's unpredictability, rather than in the plans we meticulously lay out. In another illustration, think about a child playing in a park. They might collect acorns, create imaginary worlds, or play games with friends, fulfilling them with pure joy. The games have no profound purpose, yet they are rich in experience and happiness. This juxtaposition highlights that even in a chaotic, seemingly purposeless universe, moments of profound joy and connection exist. Absurdism encourages us to create our own meanings through experiences, relationships, and creativity. Consider the vastness of the cosmos. The stars twinkle in the night sky, seemingly detached from the human experience. Each tiny dot of light may represent a galaxy, brimming with planets and potential life. Yet, the immensity of the universe can evoke feelings of insignificance. Absurdism invites us to reflect on this vastness and recognize that, while we might be small in comparison, our thoughts, actions, and emotions are significant in our own narratives. It's about finding value in our existence and asserting ourselves within this chaotic expanse. Absurdism doesn't end with despair. Instead, it opens the door for revolutionary creativity. When we accept that life may not have inherent meaning, we also gain the freedom to construct our own meanings. Think about artists, writers, and thinkers who have thrived on this tenet. They craft stories, paint canvases, and express their visions not to find absolute answers, but to explore the labyrinth of existence. This act itself becomes a form of rebellion against the absurd. As we go about our lives, there's an inherent tension we all feel between order and chaos, purpose and randomness. There are moments when the routines we establish feel comforting and reassuring, like a warm cup of tea on a chilly evening. However, a sudden twist, a surprise visit from an old friend, or a spontaneous adventure can shuffle those routines. Absurdism suggests that such upheavals can invigorate our lives in unexpected and delightful ways. By embracing the chaotic, we can experience true richness in our journeys. In community and connection, absurdism finds a profound lesson. When we recognize that everyone is navigating their own uncertainties, we can foster empathy and understanding. Our shared experiences of searching for meaning against the backdrop of chaos connect us all. It unites us in this absurd endeavor called life, where laughter, love, and friendship can become our greatest treasures, illuminating the dark corners of uncertainty. Reflecting on absurdism nudges us to question our assumptions and explore our potential. How do we respond to the world around us? What choices do we make in the face of uncertainty? Rather than succumbing to nihilism or despair, we can choose to engage with life actively, creating our narratives and celebrating the beautiful complexity of our existence. So, embrace the disorder and allow yourself to revel in the journey. After all, life may be an unpredictable dance, swirling and shifting in directions we cannot foresee. We are free to create our rhythms, to move with grace, or stumble delightfully through chaos. In this exploration of life, we discover our colors amidst the gray, and perhaps, in this beautiful absurdity, we can carve out our own understanding of purpose and joy. Existentialism is a philosophical movement that emerged in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, primarily in response to the changing societal landscape brought about by industrialization, war, and rapid scientific advancements. This philosophy emphasizes the importance of individual freedom, choice, and the subjective nature of existence. It challenges the notion that life has inherent meaning or predetermined purpose, suggesting instead that individuals must create their own meaning and essence through their actions and choices. At its core, existentialism posits that existence precedes essence. This means that individuals are not born with a preset nature or purpose. Instead, they exist first, and it is through their experiences, decisions, and interactions with the world that they define themselves. Think of it like an artist with a blank canvas. The canvas does not dictate what the artwork will become. It is the artist's vision, decisions, and creativity that bring it to life. In the same way, each person has the potential to shape their identity and values based on their unique experiences. One of the key figures in existentialism is Jean-Paul Sartre. He famously declared that man is condemned to be free. This statement captures the essence of existential freedom and the weight of choice. Sartre argued that with freedom comes responsibility. Individuals must take ownership of their choices and the consequences that follow. This can be both liberating and daunting, as the realization that one's life is the result of personal choices can lead to feelings of anxiety. However, it also provides a powerful incentive to live authentically and intentionally. Another prominent existentialist is Simone de Beauvoir, who extended these ideas to examine the roles and identities of women. In her groundbreaking work, she argued that women have historically been defined in relation to men, and she emphasized the need for women to assert their own identity and essence. Her philosophy highlights the interplay between freedom and societal constraints, encouraging individuals to challenge the norms imposed upon them and to seek their own path. Existentialism also grapples with concepts of absurdity and the search for meaning in a seemingly indifferent universe. Albert Camus, a key existentialist thinker, explored this idea in depth. He posed the question of how to live in a world that offers no clear answers or meanings. His famous essay, The Myth of Sisyphus, illustrates this struggle through the story of Sisyphus, a figure from Greek mythology condemned to roll a boulder up a hill only for it to roll back down eternally. Camus suggests that, like Sisyphus, individuals must find their own purpose and embrace the struggle itself, rather than seeking external validation or meaning. Existentialism also delves into the theme of authenticity, the idea that individuals should strive to live in accordance with their true selves. This often requires questioning societal expectations and norms. It invites an exploration of what it means to live authentically in a world filled with distractions, superficial values, and external pressures. Embracing authenticity means recognizing one's desires, values, and beliefs, and acting in ways that align with them, rather than conforming to the expectations of others. The philosophy also engages deeply with the concept of angst or existential dread. This feeling arises from the awareness of one's freedom and the weight of choice. It prompts individuals to confront their existence, their separateness from others, and the inevitability of death. While this can be uncomfortable, it also serves as a catalyst for self-reflection and growth. Through grappling with these feelings, individuals can gain a greater understanding of what they truly value and seek in life. Existentialism asserts that relationships with others play a significant role in our existence. The connections we forge with others can enrich our lives and contribute to our sense of self. However, Sartre famously stated that hell is other people, highlighting the challenges that come with interpersonal relationships. Through our interactions, we often confront conflict, misunderstanding, and the desire for recognition. Yet, it's through these relationships that we also experience love, companionship, and shared meaning, making the human experience complex and multifaceted. In a world marked by uncertainty and complexity, Existentialism invites individuals to embrace the full spectrum of human experience. It encourages people to confront difficult questions about their existence and to acknowledge the freedom and responsibility that come with being human. By recognizing that life lacks inherent meaning, individuals are liberated to create their own narrative and to engage with the world in meaningful ways. Ultimately, existentialism serves as a reminder that each person holds the power to shape their own destiny. In a universe that offers no predefined answers, it is up to individuals to explore, create, and define what it means to exist. In doing so, they embark on a journey of self-discovery, authenticity, and personal meaning that is uniquely their own. Through this exploration, they can find beauty and significance in the act of living, revealing a profound understanding of the human condition. In embracing existential thought, one can cultivate a greater appreciation for the complexities of life, the importance of personal agency, and the potential for human connection. This philosophical approach ultimately invites individuals to reflect on their choices, to celebrate their freedom, and to engage deeply with the world around them. While the quest for meaning might be personal and often challenging, it is also a deeply enriching journey, one that offers endless possibilities for growth, understanding, and fulfillment. Utilitarianism is an ethical theory that focuses on the consequences of actions, promoting those that result in the greatest overall happiness and well-being. Developed in the 18th and 19th centuries, utilitarianism has had a significant impact on moral philosophy and decision-making throughout history. The central idea is straightforward. The best action is the one that maximizes utility, often defined in terms of happiness or pleasure. To illustrate this, consider a scenario where you have a limited budget for a community project. You can choose between building a playground for children and setting up a small library. The playground would bring joy and physical activity to many children, fostering a sense of community and providing a safe space for play. On the other hand, the library could benefit a wider range of individuals, from children to adults, by offering access to books, resources for learning, and a place to gather. A utilitarian approach would analyze the potential outcomes and choose the option that offers the greatest benefit to the largest number of people. The philosophy rests on the idea of the greatest happiness principle, which posits that actions are right if they tend to promote happiness and reducing suffering. This means that ethical decisions should be viewed through the lens of their impact on overall well-being, rather than the motives behind the actions or specific rules that must be followed. For instance, if a doctor has to choose between saving one life or saving several lives when resources are limited, a utilitarian perspective would likely favor the option that results in saving the larger number. One of the key figures in shaping utilitarianism was Jeremy Bentham. He proposed a quantitative approach to happiness, suggesting that we could measure pleasure and pain through a, quote, hedonic calculus. This idea brings forth the question of how to weigh different types of happiness. For example, some may argue that the joy of a child playing is more qualitatively significant than the happiness found in a good book, while others may disagree. Bentham's utilitarianism emphasizes a democratic aspect, encouraging individuals to consider not just their own happiness but the collective happiness of society. John Stuart Mill expanded on Bentham's ideas, introducing a qualitative component to the understanding of happiness. According to Mill, not all pleasures are of equal value. There are higher and lower pleasures, with intellectual and moral satisfactions being more significant than basic physical pleasures. By establishing this distinction, Mill argued for a more nuanced approach to understanding happiness, suggesting that action should promote not just any happiness, but those of higher quality that contribute to a flourishing life. Utilitarianism challenges individuals to be impartial, advocating for the consideration of everyone's happiness equally. This can lead to some difficult moral dilemmas. For instance, if a policy benefits the majority but significantly harms a minority, a utilitarian might grapple with the ethics of such an outcome. This aspect of utilitarianism has sparked debates regarding justice and fairness, particularly in situations where individual rights clash with the greater good. Despite its practical appeal in decision-making, utilitarianism faces criticism. One major concern is the difficulty in predicting the outcomes of actions accurately. What may seem like a beneficial choice in the short term could have unforeseen consequences that lead to suffering later. Furthermore, critics argue that utilitarianism may justify harmful actions if they result in a net gain for the majority, potentially leading to moral issues such as sacrificing individuals for the sake of greater overall happiness. Nevertheless, Utilitarian principles have been influential in various fields, including economics, public policy, and healthcare. When governments consider policies aimed at societal benefits, they often use utilitarian frameworks to evaluate the potential impact on the population. For instance, during public health crises, prioritizing resources to maximize benefits may reflect utilitarian thinking in action. In recent years, discussions surrounding utilitarianism have evolved. The emergence of ethical debates in technology, artificial intelligence, and climate change emphasizes the relevance of utilitarian principles in modern contexts. Decision-makers increasingly look at how innovations can enhance collective well-being and mitigate potential harms. In summary, utilitarianism presents a compelling framework for considering ethical dilemmas. It encourages individuals to think critically about the consequences of their actions and to strive to maximize happiness for the greatest number. While it has its challenges and critiques, the essence of utilitarianism reflects a desire to create a more compassionate society, rooted in the understanding that our choices affect not only ourselves, but also those around us. By weighing actions according to their impact on overall well-being, utilitarianism continues to influence moral thought and practical decision-making in a world that is ever more interconnected. Deontology is a fascinating ethical theory that centers on rules, duties, and obligations, rather than the consequences of actions. This approach emphasizes that certain actions are inherently right or wrong, regardless of the results they produce. Imagine a world governed by unbreakable rules, where following ethical principles is paramount, and every individual is expected to adhere to these standards. One of the foundational figures in deontological ethics is Immanuel Kant, a philosopher who proposed that moral actions are rooted in rationality and the concept of duty. For Kant, morality is not subjective but rather a universal law that applies to all rational beings. This means that actions should be guided by maxims that one would wish to see universalized. If it is right for one person to act in a certain way, it must also be right for everyone in similar circumstances. This notion introduces a rigorous framework for evaluating whether an action is ethical. To better understand deontology, consider the example of truth-telling. A deontologist holds that it is always wrong to lie, regardless of the potential positive outcomes that might arise from deceit. For instance, if lying could save someone from harm, a deontologist would argue that maintaining honesty is still the more ethical route to take. The principle here is that honesty is a duty that must be respected at all times. Another critical aspect of deontology is the distinction between moral agents and moral patients. Moral agents are those who can act according to moral principles and are responsible for their actions. In contrast, moral patients are those who are on the receiving end of actions but may not be able to make moral choices themselves, such as children or animals. This distinction influences how deontology addresses various ethical dilemmas, particularly those involving the treatment of vulnerable individuals. Deontology is often put to the test in complex moral dilemmas. For instance, consider the classic trolley problem. If you are confronted with the decision to pull a lever that redirects a runaway trolley toward one person instead of 5, a deontologist might favor the idea of not actively causing harm, thus refraining from pulling the lever. The reasoning here is that it is better to let events unfold rather than intentionally intervene to harm someone, even if the outcome seems beneficial in saving more lives. Critics of deontology argue that this rigid structure may sometimes lead to morally questionable outcomes. For example, a strict adherence to rules might result in an individual refusing to break a promise, even when doing so could prevent significant suffering. Some situations require a more nuanced approach that considers the consequences, which is where consequentialist theories come into play, promoting a more flexible interpretation of ethics. In contrast to deontology, consequentialism focuses on the outcomes of actions. It teaches that the morality of an act is determined by its results. Therefore, the ends justify the means. While consequentialism can result in decisions that prioritize greater good, deontologists caution against sacrificing individual rights or principled standards in the pursuit of a favorable outcome. This is a fundamental divergence between the two theories, reflecting the complexity of moral reasoning. The tension between these approaches can be highlighted in modern ethical debates, such as those regarding artificial intelligence or medical ethics. For example, consider the development of self-driving cars. A deontological perspective would emphasize the ethical implications of programming these vehicles to make decisions that prioritize certain lives over others, while a consequentialist might focus on the overall benefit to society reflected in accident reduction. Ultimately, deontology invites us to consider the importance of principles and duties in our ethical landscape. It encourages us to uphold values such as honesty, justice, and respect for individuals, ensuring that moral standards remain intact amidst the various challenges that life presents. By adhering to an ethical system that prioritizes rules over consequences, we engage in a thoughtful exploration of what it means to act ethically. As we reflect on the implications of deontology, we recognize its complexities and the vital role it plays in our understanding of morality. It champions the idea of human dignity and the intrinsic worth of individuals, shaping our conversations around ethics with a sense of commitment to our duties. Whether navigating our personal lives or engaging with broader societal issues, deontological ethics serves as a guiding star, helping to illuminate the path toward principled action. In conclusion, deontology gives us a framework through which we can explore our moral responsibilities, emphasizing the importance of intention, duty, and ethical consistency. It encourages us to adhere to our principles, even when faced with challenging dilemmas, advocating for actions that reflect our deepest values and the respect we hold for one another as moral agents. Through the lens of deontology, we are reminded of the profound significance of rules as we navigate the intricate terrain of human ethics. Pragmatism is a fascinating philosophical movement that emerged in the late 19th century in the United States. Central to pragmatism is the idea that thought is essentially a tool for solving problems and facilitating action. This perspective invites us to consider how our beliefs and ideas can shape our actions and, ultimately, the experiences we have in our lives. The pragmatist view argues that the value of an idea is measured by its practical consequences. For example, if a theory about human behavior can help improve mental health treatment, then that theory is worthwhile, regardless of its abstract elegance. In this way, pragmatism shifts the focus from ideation to application, encouraging us to seek ideas that make a tangible difference in the world. One of the key figures in this movement is Charles Sanders Peirce, who introduced the concept of pragmatic maxim. Peirce believed that the meaning of any concept could be understood by considering the practical effects of that concept. For instance, take the idea of truth. Following Peirce's reasoning, truth arises from the end results of our inquiry. If a belief consistently leads to successful outcomes, it can be considered true within a pragmatic framework. William James, another prominent pragmatist, expanded upon Peirce's ideas and emphasized the importance of individual experience in shaping truth. He famously articulated that beliefs must work in our lives. If believing in something helps individuals navigate life's complexities more effectively, then that belief holds value. This perspective invites a more personal approach to understanding ideas. What works for one person may not work for another, depending on their unique circumstances. John Dewey, a key figure in pragmatism, brought these ideas into the realm of education and social reform. Dewey believed in experiential learning, suggesting that education should be rooted in real-life experiences rather than abstract concepts. Imagine a classroom where students engage in hands-on projects, solving real-world problems as part of their learning process. This is the essence of Dewey's educational philosophy, which emphasizes learning through doing and reflects the practical nature of pragmatism. Pragmatism encourages a flexible mindset that adapts to new information and experiences. In a world that is constantly changing, this adaptability is crucial. It plays a vital role in problem solving, as it allows individuals to approach challenges with a variety of strategies rather than relying on rigid solutions. For example, in tackling climate change, a pragmatist might advocate for a combination of renewable energy sources, conservation efforts, and technological innovations, recognizing that a multifaceted approach is more likely to yield positive results than a single solution. This philosophical outlook does not shy away from doubt or uncertainty. Instead, it embraces them as integral parts of the human experience. Pragmatists understand that not all problems have clear solutions, and that sometimes trial and error is necessary. This willingness to explore various possibilities fosters a more resilient outlook, where failure is viewed as a stepping stone to deeper understanding, rather than a definitive endpoint. Moreover, pragmatism is deeply rooted in community and social context. Recognizing that individual actions do not occur in a vacuum, it advocates for collaboration and dialogue. This perspective acknowledges that different viewpoints can enrich discussions, leading to more comprehensive solutions. Think of community initiatives where diverse groups come together to address local issues. By pooling their knowledge and experiences, they often uncover innovative approaches that one group alone may not have considered. Additionally, pragmatism emphasizes the iterative nature of knowledge. Just as a scientist revises a hypothesis based on experimental results, pragmatism allows for the continuous refinement of beliefs and practices. This openness to change fosters creativity and innovation, as individuals and societies are encouraged to explore new ideas without the fear of being wrong. In our daily lives, we often encounter dilemmas that call for a pragmatic approach. Consider decision-making in the workplace. A leader faced with a complex problem might gather input from team members, weigh the potential outcomes, and adjust the plan based on what seems most effective. This collaborative and adaptable approach is a hallmark of pragmatism, where the primary goal is to find solutions that work for everyone involved. Lastly, pragmatism can influence personal relationships. Instead of adhering to rigid expectations, individuals who adopt a pragmatic mindset tend to communicate more openly and focus on actions that strengthen their connections. This adaptability cultivates empathy, as each person acknowledges the other's needs and perspectives, ultimately leading to healthier and more fulfilling relationships. In conclusion, pragmatism invites us to view thought as a powerful tool for addressing challenges and improving our lives. By valuing practical outcomes over rigid doctrines, embracing experience, and fostering collaboration, this philosophical movement enriches our understanding of the world and our place within it. With its emphasis on flexibility, community, and continuous learning, pragmatism encourages us to remain open to new possibilities, making it a compelling guide in navigating the complexities of life. Stoicism is an ancient philosophy that originated in Greece over 2,000 years ago. It was founded by Zeno of Citium and later developed by philosophers like Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius. This school of thought teaches individuals how to cultivate inner strength and resilience by understanding the nature of the world and their place in it. At its core, Stoicism encourages us to embrace rationality. This means approaching life with a clear mind, allowing us to make decisions based on reason rather than being swayed by fleeting emotions. Imagine standing outside during a storm. The wind howls and the rain lashes against your skin, and in that moment, it is easy to feel overwhelmed. A Stoic would remind themselves that while they cannot control the weather, they can control how they respond to it. Instead of letting frustration take over, they might choose to seek shelter or enjoy the invigorating freshness that comes after the storm. One of the most important concepts in Stoicism is the distinction between what we can control and what we cannot. This idea is often encapsulated in the Serenity Prayer, which asks for the wisdom to differentiate between the two. By focusing our energy on what we can influence, we can reduce unnecessary anxiety. For example, if you are preparing for a big presentation at work, a Stoic perspective would guide you to concentrate on your preparation and practice. However, you would accept that you cannot control your audience's reactions. This shift in focus allows for a more peaceful mindset. Another fundamental aspect of Stoicism is living in accordance with nature. This does not refer solely to the natural world, but also to human nature and our role within the larger universe. To Stoics, embracing our rational nature is paramount. We are not merely passive beings. We have the ability to think critically and engage thoughtfully with the world around us. For instance, consider the concept of fate or destiny. Stoics believe that we should accept whatever comes our way as part of a larger cosmic order. If something unfortunate occurs, rather than responding with anger or despair, we acknowledge it as an event beyond our control and choose to respond responsibly. This approach to life also promotes a sense of community. Stoicism teaches that we are all interconnected, and thus our actions can have profound effects on others. When we treat people with kindness and respect, we contribute positively to the wider community. Imagine you're at a cafe and notice someone struggling with their coffee order. A Stoic would likely feel compelled to help because they recognize that small acts of kindness can make a big difference in someone's day. Furthermore, Stoicism encourages the practice of gratitude. By regularly reflecting on what we have rather than what we lack, we can foster a sense of appreciation for our lives. A Stoic would suggest keeping a journal where you note things you're grateful for, whether it's the warmth of the sun, the laughter of a friend, or even a simple meal. This practice can shift our outlook and help us remain grounded in positive experiences. Emotional resilience is another pillar of Stoicism. Life is full of challenges, and Stoics believe that facing adversity with a calm and steadfast demeanor is essential. When confronted with setbacks, a Stoic would not indulge in self-pity or frustration. Instead, they might reflect on the lessons learned from the experience and how they can apply them in the future. This mindset transforms challenges into opportunities for growth. A practical Stoic exercise involves negative visualization. By contemplating the possibility of losing what we hold dear, we can better appreciate it in the present. Picture a sunny day at the park with friends. Instead of taking that moment for granted, a Stoic might reflect on how precious these experiences are and how fleeting they can be. This reflection deepens our appreciation and encourages us to make the most of our time together. Additionally, Stoicism teaches us the value of self-discipline. The ability to manage our desires and impulses is crucial for personal development. Imagine you're trying to lead a healthier lifestyle. A Stoic approach would involve making conscious choices about what you consume and how you spend your time. Rather than giving in to cravings or distractions, you would stick to your goals, understanding that true freedom comes with responsibility. Finally, the idea of amor fati, loving one's fate, is central to Stoicism. This concept encourages us to embrace our life circumstances, however challenging they may be. By accepting our destinies, we cultivate a sense of peace and joy in every moment. Picture someone who faces a significant life change, such as a job loss. Instead of resisting this transition, a Stoic would practice acceptance, recognizing it as an opportunity for new beginnings and personal transformation. In summary, Stoicism is a powerful philosophy that teaches us to live with intention and purpose. By fostering rationality, understanding our relationship with nature, and practicing gratitude and emotional resilience, we can navigate life's ups and downs with grace and strength. This ancient wisdom remains relevant today, guiding us toward a more fulfilling and meaningful existence. Whether facing challenges or cherishing joy, the principles of Stoicism offer enduring insights that encourage personal growth and a profound connection to both ourselves and the world around us. Metaphysical solipsism is a fascinating philosophical concept that invites us to explore the boundaries of our perception and existence. At its core, metaphysical solipsism posits that only one's own mind is certain to exist. Everything else, including the external world and other minds, is perceived as an illusion or a construct of the individual's consciousness. To understand this concept better, imagine a dream. In a dream, you create intricate worlds, vivid characters, and falling landscapes, all of which seem very real while you are immersed in that experience. Once you wake up, however, you realize that everything you encountered was a projection of your own mind. In many ways, metaphysical solipsism suggests that our waking life could be akin to that dream state, where everything external might simply be a reflection of our inner thoughts and experiences. Think about your personal experiences. Every time you perceive something, whether it's a vibrant sunset, a friend's laughter, or the taste of your favorite food, you are interpreting sensory information through your own mind. Your emotions color these experiences in unique ways. For instance, the way you perceive the beauty of a sunset might differ greatly from someone else's perspective. This subjective interpretation is a pivotal aspect of metaphysical solipsism, as it underscores the idea that our awareness creates our reality. Consider a simple scenario like visiting a coffee shop. As you sip your freshly brewed cup, the warmth of the mug feels tangible, and the chatter of customers surrounds you. Your thoughts wander to a conversation you had earlier in the day. Each element, the coffee, the sounds, the people, is filtered through your consciousness. While others in the shop are experiencing the same setting, their perceptions and interpretations are entirely their own. According to metaphysical solipsism, the only thing you can be completely sure of is your own experience and awareness in that moment. You might even think of a work of art. Take a painting hanging in a gallery, filled with vibrant colors and dynamic shapes. As you gaze at it, your mind begins to weave stories and meanings based on your background and mood. Another viewer might have an entirely different reaction, possibly inspired by a memory or emotion that you do not share. This illustrates how perception shapes our reality. Metaphysical solipsism claims that while the art exists in the physical world, the significance and understanding of it are confined to personal interpretation. This philosophical viewpoint poses intriguing questions about reality and existence. If we are unable to access the minds of others directly, how can we differentiate between what is real and what is a fabrication of our minds? The interconnectedness of individuals, societies, and experiences complicates this idea further. While we can interact with the world, share dialogues, and forge meaningful relationships, metaphysical solipsism invites us to consider whether these interactions can be considered absolute truths or merely extensions of our consciousness. Philosopher René Descartes famously noted the phrase, "I think, therefore I am." This encapsulates the essence of existence as experienced by an individual. It suggests that the mere act of thinking confirms one's existence, a foundational idea in solipsism. It emphasizes the first-person perspective, challenging us to reflect on what we accept as real. Metaphysical solipsism is not without its critics. Many argue against its implications, stating that if everything is merely a projection of the individual mind, it can lead to a form of extreme skepticism about the world and relationships. Detractors suggest that such a viewpoint undermines the significance of social interactions and shared experiences that seem to provide firm evidence of a collective reality. Nevertheless, the allure of metaphysical solipsism lies in its ability to provoke introspection. It encourages a deeper inquiry into our understanding of existence. Our thoughts and sensations bring color to our lives, leading us to ponder what the essence of reality might be. If everything we perceive is indeed filtered through our own minds, what does that say about the nature of knowledge, relationships, and personal growth? Furthermore, engaging with metaphysical solipsism can serve as a powerful reminder to cultivate mindfulness about our experiences. Each moment we encounter in life is shaped by our perceptions, thoughts, and feelings. As we navigate through our daily realities, we can begin to appreciate the richness of our internal worlds and recognize the subjective nature of our experiences. In conclusion, metaphysical solipsism invites us to reflect on consciousness, reality, and the intricate dance between perception and existence. It challenges us to question our assumptions about the external world, relationships, and our understanding of truth. While it may not provide definitive answers, it offers a profound canvas upon which we can explore the myriad possibilities of human experience, leading us to a deeper appreciation for the complexity of our minds and the worlds we inhabit. Determinism is a philosophical concept that has intrigued thinkers for centuries. At its core, determinism posits that every event in the universe, from the grandest cosmic phenomena to our most intimate personal choices, is the result of a preceding cause. This idea prompts us to consider the extent to which our lives and decisions are shaped by factors beyond our control, such as genetics, environment, and historical context. To understand determinism better, think about the simple act of planting a seed. When you place a seed in the soil, you are not merely hoping for growth, you are engaging with a series of causes and effects. The quality of the seed, the nutrients in the soil, the amount of sunlight it receives, and even the weather conditions all interplay to determine whether that seed will sprout into a robust plant or wither away. Each element has a direct influence on the outcome, showcasing a direct line of causality. Now, expand that concept to human behavior. For instance, consider how your upbringing shapes who you are. The values instilled in you by your family, the education you receive, and the friendships you forge play substantial roles in your decision-making process. Each experience sets the stage for your next choices, almost like a domino effect. When you reflect on the paths you've taken in your life, you might notice that many of your decisions seem predetermined by a combination of past experiences and external influences. Imagine a young child who grows up in a nurturing environment, surrounded by supportive parents who foster curiosity and creativity. This child is likely to develop confidence and an inclination toward exploration. Conversely, a child who faces adversity or neglect might develop a completely different set of behaviors and choices later in life. Determinism suggests that these early influences make a significant imprint on the individual, directing their future actions and decisions in ways they might not consciously control. One can also look at historical events through a deterministic lens. Take, for instance, the rise and fall of empires. Historical determinism posits that various socioeconomic factors, cultural movements, and political decisions lead to the emergence of power structures. A particular economic situation, such as a famine or a resource boom, can push nations towards conflict or cooperation, ultimately shaping the course of history. Each event is intertwined with others, creating a tapestry of cause and effect that weaves through time. Consider the actions of a scientist conducting research. Their investigation is not merely a product of inspiration. It is grounded in a series of prior inquiries, theories, and discoveries. The choices a scientist makes are deeply influenced by previously established knowledge and the state of scientific understanding at the time. When they formulate a hypothesis or decide on an experimental method, those choices are informed by the collective progress of their field. In this sense, their work is a continuation of a larger narrative that spans generations. In the realm of morality, determinism raises questions about personal responsibility. If our choices are simply the result of pre-existing causes, can we truly be held accountable for our actions? This is a debate that divides philosophers and ethicists alike. Proponents of determinism might argue that understanding the causes of our behavior can foster empathy and compassion. If we acknowledge that harmful actions stem from a complex web of influences, we might be more inclined to provide support rather than punishment for those who err. Think of a traffic accident. The event can be traced back through a chain of causes: the time of day, weather conditions, the actions of the drivers involved, and even the design of the road itself. Each factor contributes to the ultimate outcome. This perspective invites us to analyze events from a comprehensive viewpoint, helping us to understand that life is often more about interconnected influences than isolated incidents. As we navigate through life, the deterministic view serves as a reminder of our connection to the world around us. Each small decision we make can be seen as part of a broader continuum of influence. This perspective can inspire reflection on how one's circumstances, relationships, and past experiences shape who they become. Every choice may lead to countless possibilities, each branching off from the last, like the intricate roots of a tree. Even in the realm of creativity, determinism plays a role. An artist's work may appear spontaneous, but it is often a culmination of influences, inspirations, and past techniques. Each brushstroke or note composed can be understood as the product of everything that has come before it. The act of creation, then, is not merely an expression of free will. It is the result of a complex interplay of experiences and knowledge that have led the artist to that precise moment. In summary, determinism offers a compelling framework to understand our lives and the world. It invites us to appreciate the intricate web of causes that underpin our existence, from the personal to the universal. By recognizing these connections, we can foster a deeper understanding of ourselves and our place within the vast tapestry of life. This perspective encourages compassion toward others, as we realize that their actions are shaped by a myriad of influences that are often invisible, yet profoundly impactful. The beauty of life lies not only in the choices we make, but in the rich history of circumstances and events that bring us to the present moment. Understanding this can lead to a greater sense of connection and purpose, allowing us to embrace the complexity of the human experience. Dialectical materialism is a philosophical approach that stems from the ideas of Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels. At its core, this perspective combines dialectics, a method of reasoning and understanding the world through contradictions and changes, with materialism, which emphasizes the importance of the physical world and material conditions. This framework is used to analyze social, political, and economic phenomena, revealing the complexities of human society and historical development. The central tenet of dialectical materialism is that everything in the universe is interconnected and constantly changing. This change often occurs through contradictions, where opposing forces come into conflict, ultimately leading to new developments. For example, in the realm of nature, we can observe how a tree grows. It must push through soil and face various environmental challenges to reach the light of the sun. The tree's struggle with these obstacles represents the dialectical process, where contradiction and conflict lead to growth and transformation. Applying this to human society, dialectical materialism suggests that social classes and their inherent conflicts drive historical change. Consider feudalism, where the nobility owned land and the peasants worked it. The contradiction between these two classes, the wealthy landowners and the laboring peasants, created tensions that ultimately contributed to the rise of capitalism. As the economic landscape shifted, so too did the relationships between different classes, leading to a profound transformation in society. Dialectical materialism emphasizes the significance of material conditions in shaping human consciousness. This means that our thoughts, beliefs, and values are influenced significantly by the socioeconomic environment in which we live. For instance, a community struggling with poverty may develop a different worldview compared to one that enjoys economic prosperity. This notion implies that in order to understand society, one must examine the material realities that give rise to varying perspectives and experiences. Another critical aspect of dialectical materialism is the idea of historical progress as a nonlinear process. History is not merely a series of events that occur in a straight line, but rather a complex web of interrelated developments that can lead to regressions as well as advancements. Take, for example, the progress of civil rights in various nations. While certain laws may have been enacted to promote equality, there are always counterforces that attempt to resist those changes. This ongoing battle between progressive and regressive forces illustrates the dialectical nature of societal development. In addition to social change, dialectical materialism provides a lens through which we can analyze various phenomena in science and nature. The physical world operates on principles of change, driven by underlying contradictions. An example is the water cycle. Water transforms from liquid to vapor and back again, shifting states as environmental conditions change. This movement illustrates the dynamic and evolving nature of our world, where every element interacts and influences the others, reflecting the interconnectedness emphasized by dialectical materialism. Furthermore, dialectical materialism highlights the importance of human agency in the face of material conditions. People are not merely passive observers, but active participants in shaping their realities. For instance, workers organizing for better conditions is an example of how individuals can challenge existing contradictions and push for change. By understanding the power dynamics at play and mobilizing collectively, people can influence the material conditions that define their lives. In studying dialectical materialism, we also encounter the idea of synthesis. After a contradiction has been resolved, a new reality emerges that incorporates elements of both opposing sides. This can be seen in technological advancements. For instance, the rise of digital technology represents a synthesis of previous forms of communication, yet it also brings forth new contradictions, such as issues of privacy and data security. It's a cycle where each synthesis becomes a thesis, leading to new contradictions and further evolution. Dialectical materialism encourages a critical approach to knowledge. It urges us to question established norms and ideologies, examining the underlying material conditions instead. This is particularly relevant in the modern world, where various powers seek to maintain the status quo. By utilizing the dialectical method, we can unveil the reasons behind societal issues and begin to understand the larger forces at play. Ultimately, dialectical materialism is a tool for examining the world through the lens of change and contradiction. It teaches us that nothing is static, and that every phenomenon, be it social, political, or natural, exists in a state of flux. By recognizing the interconnectedness of all things and the dialectical processes at work, we can gain deeper insights into the complexities of life. This approach not only enhances our understanding of history and societal structures, but also empowers us to engage actively in shaping the future. It invites us to embrace the contradictions inherent in our existence and see them as opportunities for growth and transformation in both our personal lives and the broader world. Virtue ethics is an intriguing approach to morality that emphasizes the importance of virtues and moral character in ethical decision-making. Unlike other ethical frameworks that focus heavily on rules or the consequences of actions, virtue ethics inspires us to think about who we ought to be as individuals. It asks a fundamental question: what kind of person should I strive to become? At the core of virtue ethics is the idea that developing good character traits, known as virtues, is essential for living a good life. These virtues include qualities like honesty, courage, compassion, integrity, and wisdom. Think of these traits as the building blocks of a person's character. When individuals cultivate these virtues, they are more likely to act in ways that are morally commendable. For instance, when faced with a challenging situation at work, a person guided by virtue ethics would consider how their actions reflect their character. If they value honesty, they would strive to communicate truthfully with colleagues, even if lying might seem easier or more beneficial in the short term. This focus on virtue helps create an environment where trust and respect flourish, positively influencing those around them. The roots of virtue ethics can be traced back to ancient philosophers such as Aristotle, who believed that living a virtuous life leads to eudaimonia, often translated as human flourishing or happiness. Aristotle argued that virtues are not innate but are developed through practice and habit. He used the concept of the golden mean to illustrate this, suggesting that moral virtues exist between two extremes. For example, courage falls between the extremes of recklessness and cowardice. By striving for that balance, individuals can foster a more virtuous character. A practical example of virtue ethics in action can be found in the realm of sports. Consider an athlete who trains not only to win, but also to exemplify teamwork, respect for opponents, and fair play. This athlete understands that their character reflects on their team and the sport itself. By focusing on virtues like perseverance and respect, they inspire others to prioritize these qualities, promoting a healthier competitive environment. Virtue ethics encourages individuals to reflect on their personal values and the kind of person they want to be. It invites self-examination. When faced with a moral dilemma, rather than simply evaluating the possible rules to follow or the consequences of their actions, a person might ask themselves, what would a virtuous person do in this situation? This introspective approach cultivates a deeper understanding of one's values and motivations. Critics of virtue ethics often argue that it lacks clear guidance for specific situations, and that such an approach can be subjective. However, proponents assert that this subjectivity is, in fact, a strength. It allows for personal growth and the recognition that ethical living is a journey rather than a destination. Each person's path will differ based on their unique experiences and contexts. In a diverse world where cultures and beliefs vary greatly, virtue ethics provides a common ground for discussing moral behavior. While the specifics of virtues may change across societies, the underlying principles of cultivating good character remain relevant. For instance, kindness is valued in nearly every culture, and individuals across the globe can agree that fostering kindness in ourselves and others is a virtue worth striving for. Furthermore, the application of virtue ethics goes beyond individual moral decisions. In organizations and communities, fostering a culture of virtues can lead to stronger, more cohesive groups. Leaders who embody virtues such as integrity and empathy set an example, encouraging others to act in accordance with these values. This can create a collectively virtuous environment, leading to positive outcomes for everyone involved. The idea of moral exemplars plays a significant role in understanding virtue ethics. These are individuals who embody virtues to an exceptional degree. By studying and learning from these role models, we can gain insights into how to cultivate virtues in our own lives. Historical figures such as Mahatma Gandhi and Mother Teresa are often cited as moral exemplars. Their commitment to principles such as nonviolence and selfless service illustrates how virtue ethics can manifest in real-world contexts. Importantly, the cultivation of virtues is not limited to personal development. It has implications for societal well-being. When a community places a strong emphasis on virtues, it promotes social cohesion and resilience. People are more likely to support one another, leading to a more compassionate society. In this way, virtue ethics acts as a catalyst for positive social change. In summary, virtue ethics offers a profound framework for understanding moral character and ethical decision-making. Rather than focusing on rigid rules or the outcomes of actions, it encourages individuals to cultivate virtues that define who they are. By doing so, individuals can create a rich tapestry of moral behavior that enhances their lives and the lives of those around them. This journey towards becoming virtuous individuals not only enriches personal experiences, but also contributes positively to the broader society, fostering an environment where moral character is celebrated and prioritized. Panpsychism is a fascinating philosophical perspective, suggesting that mind or consciousness is not just a product of complex biological systems like the human brain. Instead, it posits that consciousness is a fundamental aspect of reality itself, present in varying degrees in everything around us. This idea invites us to see the world in a radically different light, one where even the smallest particles may possess some form of experience or awareness. Imagine, for a moment, a tiny atom. Traditionally, we think of atoms as simply the building blocks of matter, composed of protons, neutrons, and electrons, performing their functions in absolute silence. Yet, from a panpsychist viewpoint, each atom might have its own unique form of mind. While vastly different from human consciousness, this implies that even the most elementary elements of the universe are imbued with some aspect of experiential reality. Such a perspective encourages us to reconsider our relationship with the world, seeing it as a living, interconnected tapestry of conscious experiences. Think about how we perceive and interact with nature. When we walk through a forest, we often feel a sense of connection to the trees, the streams, and even the rocks underfoot. Panpsychism lends support to this feeling of connectedness, suggesting that those trees and rocks might have their own forms of awareness, albeit not in ways that we, as humans, can readily comprehend. This interconnected consciousness could mean that everything we see, touch, and experience has its own story, its own narrative, woven into the fabric of the universe. While it may seem counterintuitive, panpsychism has gained traction among some contemporary philosophers and scientists. They argue that understanding consciousness as an intrinsic feature of all matter might help unravel the mysteries that have long puzzled us, especially the hard problem of consciousness, which questions how physical processes in the brain produce subjective experiences. By considering consciousness as a fundamental property, much like mass or charge, we might develop a more coherent framework for understanding the nature of reality itself. To illustrate this point further, think about the way we often characterize animals. Many people intuitively accept that mammals possess some level of consciousness, marked by emotions and social interactions. But what about insects or even single-celled organisms? Panpsychism encourages us to acknowledge that consciousness could be a spectrum, with different forms and complexities across various forms of life. A bee might experience the world differently than a human, but that doesn't mean its experience lacks value or significance. This concept opens the door to a rich discussion about morality and ethics. If all beings, regardless of their complexity, possess some form of consciousness, how does that change our understanding of their rights and needs? For instance, consider the ethical implications of how we interact with the environment. If every stone, blade of grass, and rivulet of water has a form of awareness, we might reevaluate our approach to nature, fostering a sense of compassion and respect for all forms of existence. In addition, panpsychism also touches on the realm of artificial intelligence. With the rise of increasingly sophisticated AI systems, we find ourselves asking about the potential for consciousness in machines. While traditional views may dismiss these entities as devoid of true experience, the panpsychist perspective allows us to explore the idea that consciousness might emerge in different systems, whether biological or synthetic. This may lead to intriguing questions about the nature of creativity, learning, and the very essence of what it means to think. Moreover, as we venture deeper into the cosmos, panpsychism expands our understanding of the universe itself. A universe teeming with consciousness could imply that the cosmos is not simply a cold, indifferent expanse of space, but a vibrant ecosystem of awareness and interaction. This perspective invites us to ponder our place within the universe, promoting a sense of awe and curiosity about the interconnectedness of all things. In reflecting on panpsychism, we find ourselves contemplating a world full of stories waiting to be told. Whether it is the gentle rustling of leaves in the wind or the hum of a bustling city, every aspect of our environment could be imbued with a form of consciousness. It encourages us to listen more deeply to the world around us, to appreciate the subtle interactions that shape our experience, and to recognize the vibrant tapestry of life that surrounds us. Ultimately, panpsychism offers us a transformative lens through which to view reality. It challenges us to embrace a more inclusive understanding of consciousness, one that extends beyond the limits of human experience and acknowledges the rich, diverse forms of awareness that exist throughout the universe. By doing so, we foster a greater sense of respect and wonder for the world, opening our minds to the possibility that everything we encounter has its own unique perspective, waiting for us to discover and appreciate. Moral relativism is a philosophical viewpoint that suggests that moral judgments are not absolute but rather contingent upon specific cultural, social, or personal perspectives. This means that what might be deemed right or wrong in one context may not hold the same value in another. To better understand this concept, let's explore some examples and scenarios that illustrate how moral relativism functions in everyday life. Imagine a community where sharing food is seen as a fundamental ethical obligation. In that environment, individuals might be judged harshly for refusing to share, as the community's moral framework holds sharing as a core value. Conversely, in another culture, personal autonomy and privacy might be valued more highly than communal sharing. In this case, the same refusal to share could be viewed as a personal choice rather than a moral failing. Here, we see how varying cultural norms shape what is considered morally acceptable. Let's take a closer look at the practice of marriage across different societies. In some cultures, arranged marriages are the norm, and individuals may feel a strong moral obligation to honor their family's decisions about whom to marry. In contrast, other cultures prioritize individual choice and romantic love, viewing the idea of an arranged marriage as outdated or even unethical. The perspectives on marriage highlight how moral beliefs are influenced by larger social structures and cultural histories. Another example can be drawn from the realm of wildlife conservation. In certain communities, practices like hunting and fishing may carry deep historical significance and be accepted as a traditional way of life. Those within the community may argue that their practices are not only moral, but essential for their survival and cultural identity. On the other hand, outsiders, especially those who may emphasize animal rights and conservation efforts, could argue that such practices are inherently wrong. This clash of moral judgments demonstrates how different cultural contexts can lead to divergent ethical conclusions. Moreover, moral relativism prompts us to think about the role of perspective when evaluating ethical dilemmas. When faced with challenging circumstances, individuals often rely on their personal experiences and cultural backgrounds to guide their decisions. For example, one might contend that lying is inherently wrong, while another might argue that honesty in every circumstance can lead to harm. In a scenario where telling a lie could protect someone from danger, the two viewpoints reflect the complexity of moral reasoning, shaped by differing life experiences. It is also important to consider that moral relativism does not imply that anything goes, or that all moral views are equally valid. Instead, it reminds us that our moral framework is often heavily influenced by our environment, and that understanding this framework can lead to greater empathy when encountering beliefs that differ from our own. Engaging in dialogue about moral relativism allows for a richer understanding of the human experience. When people listen to one another's perspectives, they gain insights into the values and motivations that underpin others' beliefs. This exchange can foster mutual respect and understanding, even amidst profound disagreement. However, moral relativism is not without its challenges. Critics often point to instances of cultural practices that can be harmful or unjust, questioning whether moral relativism allows for sufficient criticism of practices like discrimination or oppression. The debate around moral relativism raises important questions about universal human rights and whether some moral principles should transcend cultural boundaries. In philosophy, the tension between moral relativism and moral absolutism, the idea that certain moral truths universally apply, creates fertile ground for discussion. Some argue that an absolute moral standard could provide guidance amid ethical dilemmas, while others contend that such standards could ignore the richness of individual experiences and cultural diversity. As we navigate these complex moral landscapes, it becomes evident that moral relativism is more than just a theoretical perspective. It encourages us to approach ethical questions with an open mind, sensitivity to context, and a willingness to learn from the diverse tapestries of human experience. In doing so, we can broaden our understanding of morality and embrace the intricate interplay of beliefs that shape our world. Ultimately, moral relativism invites us to reflect on our values and the influences that shape them. It encourages ongoing conversations and debates about what is right and wrong, urging us to explore the depths of human morality while acknowledging that our views may be shaped by factors beyond our immediate comprehension. This exploration can lead to profound insights into the nature of humanity and the diverse ways in which we strive to understand one another. The conversation around moral relativism reminds us that while we may differ in our ethical beliefs, our shared human experience can serve as a bridge towards understanding and compassion. It challenges us to consider how our judgments are formed and emphasizes the importance of respect and dialogue in a world rich with diverse moral perspectives. Egoism is a philosophical viewpoint that emphasizes self-interest as the primary factor in moral decision-making. It suggests that individuals should act according to their own best interests, and that doing so is both natural and valid. This idea can be traced back to various thinkers throughout history, but it has evolved into distinct forms, the most notable being ethical egoism. At its core, ethical egoism posits that what is morally right is defined by the benefit it brings to oneself. This doesn't mean that individuals should act in harmful ways or disregard the welfare of others. Instead, ethical egoists argue that pursuing one's own interests can lead to positive outcomes for everyone involved. By focusing on personal advantage, one might inadvertently contribute to the well-being of others, as seen in various aspects of society, such as business or self-care. Consider the scenario of a business owner striving to grow their company. In the quest to increase profits, the owner makes decisions that could enhance the quality of products or services provided. In this process, employees may benefit through job security and better wages, while customers enjoy improved offerings. Here, self-interest aligns with the interests of others, demonstrating how egoism can result in a form of mutual benefit. Critics of egoism argue that it can lead to an overly self-centered view of morality, minimizing the importance of altruism and collective welfare. They contend that if everyone acted solely based on self-interest, the fabric of society might fray. This critique raises an important question. Is it possible to balance self-interest with concern for others? Many would say yes, suggesting that recognizing one's own needs does not preclude the capability to empathize with others or contribute to the common good. Egoism stands in contrast to altruistic ethics, which advocate selflessness and prioritizing others' needs above one's own. While altruism plays an essential role in societal norms and values, egoism offers a lens through which personal motivations can foster a sense of responsibility towards one's own happiness and success. This perspective holds that individuals must first support and maintain their own well-being to effectively assist others. Another interesting angle of egoism can be drawn from psychological theories, which propose that humans are naturally inclined to act in their best interests. This view aligns with the idea that our instincts often drive our choices, whether in personal relationships, career pursuits, or everyday decisions. When navigating social interactions, self-preservation tends to lead behavior and decisions. Some individuals might equate egoism with greed, but it is crucial to differentiate between healthy self-interest and detrimental self-centeredness. While greed can result in negative consequences for both the individual and the community, a balanced approach to egoism recognizes the importance of long-term fulfillment over short-sighted gains. For instance, investing time in skill development could ultimately lead to personal success and greater contributions to society, a reminder that self-interest can fuel positive change. When examining egoism in a broader context, we can also consider its implications in various cultural perspectives. In some societies, prioritizing the self is seen as a pathway to success and innovation, while in others, communal goals may take precedence. This diversity of thought illustrates the complex interplay between individual aspirations and societal expectations. The dialogue surrounding egoism encourages individuals to reflect on their motivations and the ethical implications of their choices. Each decision, whether personal or professional, presents an opportunity to evaluate the balance between self-interest and the impact on others. The pursuit of one's goals can lead to deeper personal satisfaction and insights, provided it is approached with awareness. Every day, individuals face choices that offer insight into their values and priorities. Choosing to invest in personal projects, opting not to overextend oneself for the sake of others, or even establishing boundaries in relationships can all reflect an understanding of egoism. These decisions reinforce that being aware of one's own needs does not negate the capacity for kindness and support. Ultimately, egoism encourages a reflective approach to ethics, prompting consideration of where personal desires align with broader social responsibilities. By acknowledging the significance of self-interest and moral reasoning, one can navigate life with a clearer sense of purpose. Each action may serve to fulfill personal ambitions, while simultaneously contributing to a society that thrives on the interplay of individual and collective goals. This understanding fosters a holistic view of morality that embraces both self-interest and the potential for altruism. It emphasizes the idea that one can pursue their own path while recognizing the significance of their role within the larger community. Thus, the journey of exploring egoism becomes not just a study of self, but a broader inquiry into the relationships that bind us together as individuals within society. Anarchism is a political philosophy that envisions a society free from hierarchical authority and oppressive structures. It advocates for self-governed communities where individuals willingly come together to form organizations and institutions based on cooperation and mutual aid, rather than coercion or force. At its core, anarchism holds the belief that people are capable of self-management without the need for overarching governmental control. Imagine a world where decisions are made collectively through consensus rather than dictated from above. Anarchism promotes the idea that society can be organized on the principles of horizontalism, where power is decentralized and everyone has an equal voice. This contrasts sharply with traditional government systems that involve a top-down approach, where a select few wield power over the many. One compelling aspect of anarchism is its emphasis on voluntary institutions. These can take many forms, such as cooperatives, collectives, and community assemblies. In these setups, individuals come together based on shared interests and goals. For example, imagine a community that decides to form a cooperative bakery. The members would collaboratively decide on how to operate the bakery, share profits, and ensure fair working conditions for everyone involved. This model fosters a sense of ownership and responsibility among participants, creating an environment where people work together not because they have to, but because they choose to. Anarchism is also deeply rooted in the belief that people should have the freedom to direct their own lives. It challenges the traditional notions of authority and asks important questions about the nature of power. How do we determine what is right or wrong, just or unjust, without a central authority telling us what to do? Anarchists argue that ethical decisions should stem from the mutual agreements of individuals rather than imposed laws. This can lead to a more just and equitable society, where the needs and desires of the community are prioritized. Communities that embrace anarchist principles often emphasize education, discourse, and the sharing of knowledge. This encourages individuals to engage critically with the world around them, fostering a culture of learning and growth. Instead of being passive recipients of information, people are encouraged to question, explore, and collaborate on solutions to shared challenges. Anarchism also intersects with various social movements. Many anarchists have historically been involved in labor movements, anti-capitalist struggles, and environmental activism. They advocate for the dismantling of oppressive systems that exploit both workers and the planet. This interconnectedness highlights how anarchism is not just a political philosophy, but a way of life that seeks to address injustices on multiple fronts. One of the more recognizable forms of anarchism is anarcho-syndicalism, which focuses on labor and the role of workers in society. Anarcho-syndicalists believe that direct action and workers' self-management are crucial for creating a truly free society. They envision a future where industries are managed cooperatively by the workers themselves, ensuring that everyone has a stake in the outcome of their labor. Anarchism's vision of a society built on voluntary cooperation offers an alternative to the competitive and often harsh realities of capitalist systems. In this alternative world, there would be a focus on creating supportive networks, fostering creativity, and building relationships that transcend the transactional nature often seen in mainstream economic practices. Many critics of anarchism often point to its perceived lack of structure or leadership as a potential weakness. However, proponents argue that this very lack of imposed hierarchy can be its strength. It encourages creativity, innovation, and adaptability, allowing communities to respond to challenges in dynamic and flexible ways. They argue that through voluntary association, individuals will develop the capacity to create meaningful systems of governance that reflect their values. Historical examples offer insights into anarchist principles in practice. The Spanish Revolution of the 1930s demonstrated how anarchist communities could flourish when given the opportunity. In regions where anarchist collectives took over, communities organized themselves to provide food, healthcare, and education, all managed by locals without any centralized state intervention. This resulted in a flourishing society based on cooperation, mutual respect, and creativity. The exploration of anarchism invites critical thinking about authority and governance. It challenges us to reconsider the structures we take for granted and to imagine alternatives that prioritize freedom, equality, and cooperation. By looking towards anarchism, we can begin to envision a world where relationships are rooted in mutual aid and individuals are empowered to participate in decisions that affect their lives. In conclusion, anarchism is a radical, yet profoundly hopeful political philosophy. It encourages us to conceive of a world where communities thrive through voluntary associations and cooperative efforts. By dismantling hierarchies and centering human relationships, anarchism opens up possibilities for a more just and equitable society. Through shared values and mutual support, we can work towards systems that reflect the best of human potential, fostering creativity, cooperation, and freedom in every aspect of life. Feminist philosophy is a rich and multifaceted field that explores the concepts of gender, equality, and the societal structures that contribute to ongoing inequalities. It encourages us to reconsider traditional philosophical ideas through a lens that takes into account the experiences and perspectives of women and marginalized groups. This discipline not only critiques existing philosophical frameworks, but also seeks to develop new theories and methodologies that promote a more equitable society. At its core, feminist philosophy questions the fundamental assumptions that many philosophical traditions are built upon. For instance, it challenges the notion of objectivity, which is often perceived as a neutral standpoint. Feminist philosophers argue that this viewpoint can be problematic because it may overlook the different experiences of women and other marginalized individuals. They emphasize the importance of incorporating diverse voices into philosophical discourse to enhance our understanding of truth and knowledge. One significant area of examination within feminist philosophy is the concept of gender itself. Gender is often viewed as a binary classification, but feminist thinkers argue that this perspective is limiting. Rather than strictly adhering to traditional notions of masculinity and femininity, feminist philosophy explores the fluidity of gender and how societal constructs shape our understanding of identity. By examining how cultural norms influence our views on gender, feminist philosophers seek to unravel the complexities of individual and collective identities. Furthermore, feminist philosophy engages critically with the concept of power. It delves into how power is distributed in society and how it affects different genders. The insights offered by feminist thinkers highlight the ways in which patriarchal structures marginalize women and reinforce inequalities. For example, the idea of the public sphere being dominated by male experiences leads to a lack of representation and acknowledgement of women's contributions and perspectives. By recognizing these power dynamics, feminist philosophy aims to create spaces where diverse voices can be heard and valued. Another essential aspect of feminist philosophy is its intersectionality approach. This framework recognizes that gender does not exist in isolation but is intertwined with other social categories, such as race, class, sexuality, and ability. Intersectional feminism emphasizes that different forms of discrimination and privilege overlap, impacting individuals' experiences in different ways. For instance, a black woman may face different challenges compared to a white woman or a man, and understanding these differences is vital for creating inclusive and effective social change. Feminist philosophers also examine ethical issues from a gendered perspective. Traditional ethical theories, such as utilitarianism or deontology, often prioritize rationality and objective decision-making. However, feminist ethics emphasizes the importance of relational and context-dependent approaches. It recognizes that human experiences are deeply intertwined, and ethical considerations must take into account the nuances of these relationships. This perspective encourages a more empathetic and compassionate approach to ethics that values care and connection. In addition to these theoretical contributions, feminist philosophy has practical implications. It informs activism and social movements that advocate for gender equality. Feminist thinkers have played crucial roles in movements aimed at addressing issues such as domestic violence, reproductive rights, and workplace discrimination. Their philosophical insights help to articulate the demands for equality and justice, shaping policies and societal attitudes. Philosophy also plays a significant role in education. Feminist philosophy calls for curricula that include feminist theories and diverse perspectives. By incorporating women's thought and contributions into educational institutions, we can provide a more comprehensive understanding of philosophy that reflects humanity's diverse experiences. This in turn fosters critical thinking and encourages students to engage with pressing social issues. The exploration of feminist philosophy invites us to interrogate our own beliefs and assumptions about gender and equality. It encourages an active engagement with the world around us and helps us to recognize the subtle but pervasive ways in which structural inequalities manifest in everyday life. From language and representation in media to workplace dynamics and family roles, feminist philosophy offers the tools to analyze and challenge these norms. Ultimately, feminist philosophy is an ongoing conversation that evolves with society. It invites both agreement and dissent, and through this process, it creates a dynamic space for reflection and growth. Engaging with feminist philosophical ideas allows us to better understand not just the world of ideas, but the world we inhabit. By opening our minds to new ways of thinking about gender and inequality, we can participate in efforts that promote justice and human flourishing for everyone. Through continued exploration and application of feminist thought, we can envision a society that values diversity and equality, fostering an environment where all individuals have the opportunity to thrive. Transcendentalism is a philosophical movement that emerged in the early 19th century in the eastern United States, particularly in New England. It is rooted in the belief that individuals possess inherent goodness and that human beings are at their best when they are independent and self-relying. This movement sought to understand the deeper meanings of life, emphasizing the connection between nature, spirituality, and the worth of the individual. Imagine a world where nature is not just a backdrop for human activity, but a central figure that speaks to the soul. Transcendentalists believed that nature is a source of inspiration and a pathway to understanding the truths of existence. They viewed the natural world as a reflection of the divine, where every tree, river, and star contributes to a larger cosmic narrative. This belief encouraged people to immerse themselves in the beauty and tranquility of nature, finding lessons and truths in its simplicity. One of the most notable figures of this movement was Ralph Waldo Emerson, who is often seen as the leading voice of transcendentalism. Emerson proposed that individuals should trust their intuition and instincts as a guide to understanding both themselves and the world around them. He famously wrote that every person is entitled to their unique perspective, and that what each individual has to say adds value to the collective human experience. Another prominent figure, Henry David Thoreau, embraced these ideas in a practical way when he decided to live in a small cabin at Walden Pond. His experiment in simple living allowed him to observe the rhythms of nature closely. Thoreau's writings reflect a profound respect for the environment and highlight the importance of solitude and reflection. He argued that by disconnecting from the chaos of society and immersing ourselves in nature, we could uncover deeper truths about our lives and our purpose. Transcendentalism also placed immense value on individualism. The belief that each person has an intrinsic worth is central to this movement. It encouraged people to think for themselves and to question societal norms. The Transcendentalists challenged the conventions of their time, including social injustices like slavery and the limitations on women's rights. They advocated for personal freedom, championing the idea that everyone should pursue their dreams and passions without the restraints of society. Moreover, this movement explored the relationship between the mind and the universe. Transcendentalists posited that there exists an inner spark of the divine within each person, often referred to as the oversoul. This concept suggested that humanity is interconnected, and that nurturing the spiritual aspect within oneself contributes to the greater whole. With this understanding, they encourage people to look within to find the answers they seek, rather than relying solely on external authority. In addition, Transcendentalism had a profound impact on American literature and thought. The movement inspired writers, poets, and thinkers to break free from traditional forms and express their authentic selves. The emphasis on personal experience, intuition, and the beauty of nature became hallmarks of American literature, influencing notable authors who followed, including Walt Whitman and Emily Dickinson. Their works reflected deep exploration of individuality, connection, and the wonders of the natural world. The legacy of Transcendentalism continues to resonate. Today, we see threads of its philosophy woven into various aspects of contemporary culture. The quest for self-discovery, environmentalism, and personal empowerment are some of the themes that echo the ideals set forth by these early thinkers. The belief that the goodness inherent in each individual can manifest in the world at large inspires movement and change even in modern times. Transcendentalism encourages us to embrace our individuality while recognizing our connection to all living things. It reminds us that through understanding ourselves and engaging with the world around us, we can cultivate a sense of peace and fulfillment. Engaging with nature, trusting our instincts, and appreciating the beauty of existence can lead us toward a richer, more meaningful life. So, as we reflect on the concepts born from this philosophical movement, it becomes essential to remember the transformative potential within nature and within ourselves. Embracing the transcendent aspects of life can lead to profound personal insights and a deeper appreciation for the intricate web of existence. With this understanding, we can seek harmony in our daily lives, drawing inspiration from the very world that surrounds us. This journey of exploration, guided by the principles of transcendentalism, invites us to discover the remarkable potential that lies within. Rationalism is a fascinating philosophical view that emphasizes the importance of reason as the primary source and test of knowledge. This perspective is rooted in the idea that human beings can attain knowledge through the exercise of their rational faculties, rather than solely through sensory experience. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast ocean, where the waves of information wash over you. Rationalism invites you to dive deeper, relying on the insights of reason to understand the world around you. At the heart of rationalism lies the belief that certain truths can be discovered through intellectual deduction and logical reasoning. Think of a detective solving a mystery. While clues might be provided through evidence, it is the detective's reasoning that connects the dots and leads to a conclusion. In much the same way, rationalists argue that the mind has the innate ability to grasp concepts that are beyond what our senses can perceive. One of the most notable figures associated with rationalism is René Descartes, a 17th century philosopher who famously concluded, "I think, therefore I am." This statement encapsulates the idea that the act of thinking itself is proof of one's existence and serves as a foundation for knowledge. Descartes believed that by doubting everything that could possibly be doubted, one could arrive at certain, indubitable truths. His method of systematic doubt created a pathway to knowledge that was rooted in rational thought rather than empirical evidence alone. Rationalism also encompasses the belief that some ideas and concepts are innate, meaning they are part of the human mind from birth. For instance, consider the concept of mathematics. From a young age, children often display an understanding of numbers and patterns. Rationalists argue that these innate ideas are not derived from experience, but are instead a fundamental part of our reasoning capabilities. This perspective suggests that our ability to engage in complex problem-solving or abstract thinking is not solely a product of our environment, but also a reflection of our rational nature. The contrasts between rationalism and empiricism are notable and highlight different views on the acquisition of knowledge. While rationalists emphasize reason, empiricists argue that knowledge is primarily derived from sensory experience. You might say that an empiricist would advocate exploring a beautiful garden to truly understand its colors and fragrances, whereas a rationalist would focus on the underlying principles of beauty in nature that can be logically deduced without direct experience. Understanding these philosophical frameworks can expand our view of how knowledge is constructed. For instance, in science, rationalism plays a crucial role in forming theories. A scientist might observe a series of phenomena and then use reason to hypothesize a theory that explains these observations. The beauty of this approach lies in its systematic nature. By relying on reason, scientists can formulate laws that govern the physical world, which can then be tested through experimentation. Another dimension of rationalism is its moral implications. If we consider ethical reasoning, rationalists would argue that moral truths can be discerned through rational thought, rather than through cultural conventions or emotional responses. This perspective encourages individuals to consider issues like justice and fairness using logical reasoning. For instance, if you reflect on concepts like equality, rationalism would guide you to consider the principles that underlie these ideas, leading to a more profound understanding of their implications in society. The impact of rationalism extends beyond philosophy into various fields such as mathematics, logic, and science. Mathematics is often viewed as the epitome of rational thought, where axioms and theorems are interlinked through logical deductions. The beauty of mathematical relationships demonstrates the power of reason to create knowledge that is universally applicable, transcending cultural boundaries. Additionally, in the realm of science, rationalists contributed to the development of the scientific method. This approach combines empirical observation with logical reasoning to derive conclusions about the natural world. As scientists use reason to formulate hypotheses based on observations, they also rely on deductive reasoning to arrive at broader principles that govern those observations. Rationalism encourages us to explore not just what we know, but how we know it. By engaging our rational faculties, we can question assumptions, challenge preconceived notions, and expand our understanding of the universe. It invites an intellectual curiosity that fosters growth and development across various domains of knowledge. The interplay between reason and knowledge reminds us that our quest for understanding is not merely a passive endeavor, but an active relationship with our surroundings. In conclusion, rationalism stands as a powerful intellectual tradition that champions the role of reason in the pursuit of knowledge. By exploring concepts that are innate, applying logical reasoning to various fields, and grappling with ethical implications through rational thought, we can appreciate the depth of understanding that rationalism offers. This perspective invites us to view the world through a lens that values intellect and reasoning, enriching our experiences and insights. Whether in philosophy, science, or everyday life, rationalism continues to shape our approach to knowledge and understanding. Empiricism is a fascinating philosophical theory that asserts that all knowledge comes primarily from our sensory experiences. Imagine standing in a bustling market, the vibrant colors of fruits and vegetables catching your eye, the sounds of vendors calling for attention, and the distinct aroma of spices wafting through the air. This vivid scene is an excellent illustration of how our senses play an essential role in forming our understanding of the world. At its core, empiricism emphasizes observation and experience as the foundation of knowledge. The roots of this theory can be traced back to philosophers such as John Locke, George Berkeley, and David Hume. They believed that our minds are like blank slates or tabula rasa at birth, and it is only through our interactions with the world around us that we start to fill that slate with knowledge. For instance, when you touch a hot surface, the immediate sensation teaches you about heat and safety, shaping your understanding and beliefs. Consider the world of science as well, where empiricism is a guiding principle. Scientists rely on experiments and observations to develop theories and laws about how things work. Take, for instance, Isaac Newton, who formulated the laws of motion and universal gravitation based on observations of falling apples and celestial bodies. His meticulous notes documented what he saw and felt, leading to groundbreaking discoveries that we still rely on today. This dependence on sensory data is a hallmark of empirical inquiry. Empiricism also finds its way into our everyday lives. Think back to a time you learned something new, perhaps how to ride a bike. Initially, it may have felt awkward and intimidating. However, by physically getting on the bike, you experienced the balance and movement required to ride. Each wobble and fall provided valuable lessons, reinforcing the idea that personal experience is paramount in the learning process. One interesting aspect of empiricism is how it encourages skepticism. Instead of accepting ideas at face value, empiricists urge us to question and verify through experience. For example, if someone claims that a particular fruit is sour, you might be inclined to taste it yourself before forming an opinion. This rigorous approach fosters critical thinking and helps us develop a deeper understanding of the world. However, empiricism isn't without its limitations. Some critics argue that relying solely on sensory experience can be misleading. Our senses can deceive us, as in the case of optical illusions, where what we see is not always the truth. Furthermore, there are concepts that cannot be easily observed or experienced directly, such as abstract ideas and emotions. How do we fully grasp the meaning of love, for instance, if we only rely on what we can see and touch? This recognition has led to the emergence of more holistic approaches, blending empiricism with rationalism, which values reason and innate ideas. Despite these challenges, empiricism remains a significant lens through which we can explore knowledge and understanding. For example, in the realm of education, hands-on activities and experiments dominate engineering and science disciplines, allowing students to engage directly with the material. This experiential learning creates a richer, more profound grasp of the concepts being taught, illustrating the practicality of the empirical approach. Moreover, the rise of technology has opened new avenues for experiential learning. Virtual reality creates immersive environments where individuals can interact with simulations, further validating the importance of sensory experience in acquiring knowledge. You might recall the feeling of excitement when using a VR headset to explore another world. This innovative blend of real and digital experiences exemplifies empiricism at work. In history and culture, we see how empirical methods have shaped understanding and progress. Navigate through the annals of time, and you'll find that many advancements stemmed from observation and experimentation. The development of medicine, for example, evolved through understanding diseases based on symptoms observed in patients, leading to treatments tailored to alleviate suffering. Each breakthrough, from vaccines to surgical procedures, is a testament to the empirical mindset and its impact on humanity's health and lifespan. Art, too, is influenced by empirical principles. Artists often draw inspiration from their experiences, translating feelings, environments, and situations into their work. Consider the serene landscapes painted by artists who observe nature closely. Each brushstroke captures their sensory experiences and communicates those emotions to the viewer. This connection between perception and creation embodies the essence of empiricism. In summary, empiricism is a compelling philosophical theory that champions the idea that knowledge hinges on sensory experience. From the way we learn new skills to the methods scientists employ in laboratories, our understanding of the world is formed through observation and interaction. Whether navigating daily life or exploring the vast realms of science, art, and education, the principles of empiricism shape our experiences and insights. By valuing our senses as vital tools for knowledge acquisition, we embrace a worldview rooted in direct engagement with the world around us, making it a cornerstone in our quest for understanding. Humanism is an inspiring philosophy that places prime importance on human values, capacities, and experiences, rather than focusing on divine or supernatural matters. It is a perspective that empowers individuals to seek meaning and purpose in their lives through a deeper understanding of themselves and the world around them. At its core, humanism celebrates human potential, creativity, and rational thought, embracing the belief that people can lead fulfilling lives through their own efforts and abilities. One of the most captivating aspects of humanism is its emphasis on reason and inquiry. Rather than relying on faith or dogma, humanists advocate for the use of critical thinking and evidence to understand the universe and our place within it. This approach encourages individuals to challenge existing beliefs and to seek knowledge through observation, experimentation, and discussion. A great example of this can be traced back to the Renaissance period, when thinkers like Leonardo da Vinci and Galileo Galilei emphasized observation and inquiry, paving the way for scientific advancements that forever changed our understanding of the world. Moreover, humanism promotes a sense of community and interconnectedness among people. It recognizes that individuals are not isolated entities, but rather part of a larger whole. The philosophy encourages collaboration and empathy, leading to a greater appreciation of the shared experiences and struggles that unite humanity. This sense of connection inspires individuals to work together for the common good and to advocate for justice and equality. By understanding that every person has inherent worth, humanism fosters an inclusive environment where diverse perspectives are valued and encouraged. Another crucial aspect of humanism is its focus on ethical values derived from human experience rather than from religious doctrines. This shift allows for a more flexible and adaptable approach to morality. Humanists believe that individuals can develop their ethical frameworks based on reason, compassion, and the collective human experience. They assert that morality is rooted in human needs and desires, which can evolve over time. For instance, issues like environmental sustainability and social justice are addressed through a humanist lens, acknowledging the consequences of our actions on our fellow beings and the planet. In addition, humanism extends a warm invitation to appreciate the arts and the beauty of human creativity. From literature and music to visual arts and performances, humanistic ideals encourage individuals to explore their imaginations and artistic expressions. The rich tapestry of human culture is a testament to the boundless capabilities of human creativity. Whether it's the stirring works of Shakespeare, the moving compositions of Beethoven, or the vibrant paintings of Van Gogh, the human experience is intricately woven into artistic expression, reflecting our joys, struggles, and aspirations. Furthermore, humanism promotes the idea of personal responsibility and agency. It encourages individuals to take charge of their lives, make informed choices, and pursue their goals. This belief in self-empowerment inspires people to strive for growth and self-improvement continually. For instance, in education, humanist principles advocate for a student-centered approach, where individuals are encouraged to think critically, ask questions, and actively participate in their learning journey. In a broader societal context, humanism fosters a commitment to humanitarian efforts and global citizenship. Many humanists are deeply concerned with issues such as poverty, inequality, and human rights. This global perspective urges individuals to recognize their role as active participants in a diverse world where every person's well-being matters. Humanists often engage in volunteer work, advocacy, and activism, aiming to create a better world for all by addressing systemic issues that hinder human flourishing. The ideas inherent in humanism can inspire personal reflection and encourage individuals to ponder their purpose and the impact they wish to have on the world. It ignites a passion for lifelong learning, urging people to explore new disciplines, ideas, and cultures. By fostering intellectual curiosity, humanists seek to create a society that values education and the freedom to explore diverse viewpoints. In conclusion, humanism is much more than a philosophical outlook. It is a celebration of what it means to be human. It empowers individuals to embrace their potential, forge connections, and engage with the world with compassion and reason. By prioritizing the human experience, humanism invites everyone to contribute meaningfully to their communities, reflect on ethical principles, appreciate the arts, and advocate for a just and equitable society. This perspective ultimately enriches our lives and strengthens the bonds that unite us as members of the human family. Cynicism is an interesting attitude that can shape our interactions and perceptions of the world around us. At its core, cynicism involves a general distrust of others' motives. It manifests in various ways, from skepticism about the intentions behind charitable acts to doubts about the truthfulness of political statements. This perspective often leads to a more critical view of human nature and society. Historically, cynicism dates back to ancient Greece, where philosophers like Diogenes of Sinope promoted a lifestyle that rejected societal conventions. Diogenes is famously known for his disdain for material wealth and social status, instead emphasizing a life of simplicity and self-sufficiency. But beyond its philosophical roots, cynicism has evolved into a more pervasive attitude in modern society. Imagine you witness a politician giving a speech about environmental conservation. While some might admire the effort, a cynical viewpoint may prompt thoughts like, is he really genuine, or is he just trying to gain votes? This tendency to question the underlying motives can lead to a more guarded approach in various aspects of life, whether it's in personal relationships, business dealings, or even charitable endeavors. In conversations, a cynical person may often respond with sarcasm or skepticism. If a friend shares exciting news about a new job, a cynical reply might be, well, let's just see how long that lasts. This kind of response can create an atmosphere of doubt, making it difficult for deeper connections to form. Relationships may suffer as one party feels their excitement is unappreciated, while the other remains bound by their mistrust. Cynicism can also have broader implications on a societal level. When individuals collectively adopt a cynical attitude towards institutions, like government, media, or corporations, it can lead to disengagement and apathy. If everyone begins to view government policies as self-serving, or if the news is seen merely as a source of misinformation, then civic engagement may dwindle. People start to feel like their efforts to foster change are futile, which can stagnate progress. However, there's a flip side to this coin. A certain degree of skepticism can be beneficial. It can serve as a protective mechanism, preventing individuals from being easily manipulated or exploited. By questioning motives, one can navigate complex social landscapes more cautiously and make informed decisions. For example, before investing in a new venture, a healthy skepticism may prompt thorough research, ensuring that one makes choices based on evidence rather than emotion. Cynicism can also fuel important conversations in society. For instance, questioning corporate motives related to environmental sustainability has led to increased accountability and transparency from businesses. Public pressure driven by skepticism can encourage companies to adopt ethical practices and contribute to a healthier planet. So how do we navigate the balance between a healthy amount of skepticism and excessive cynicism? It truly comes down to applications in our daily lives. Practicing mindfulness about our reactions can help. Instead of immediately jumping to doubts or negative conclusions, we can strive to ask questions constructively. Why might they be doing this? Can be a starting point for genuine curiosity, rather than immediate distrust. Additionally, understanding the origins of our cynicism can be enlightening. Personal experiences, disappointments, or societal events can shape our views and lead to a more cynical outlook. Reflecting on these experiences can foster growth and resilience, transforming feelings of distrust into opportunities for deeper understanding. One practical approach to counteract cynicism is to focus on positive stories and examples. Surrounding yourself with individuals who have genuine intentions can be uplifting. Consider volunteering for a cause you care about, where you can meet others who share your values. Engaging with like-minded people can remind you that altruism exists, and not everyone harbors ulterior motives. Ultimately, while cynicism serves a purpose in protecting us, it's essential to remain open to the possibility of positivity in others. By fostering a mindset that balances skepticism with trust, we build more resilient relationships and a more interconnected community. Finding that equilibrium allows us to critically evaluate situations without locking ourselves in a cycle of negativity. So whether it's in our personal lives or in observing the broader world, we should strive to approach each new scenario with an open mind, ready to explore the complexity of human motives. Embracing both our skepticism and our capacity for trust leads to richer experiences and deeper connections with others. Epicureanism is an ancient philosophy that traces its roots back to the teachings of Epicurus, a Greek thinker who lived between 341 and 270 BCE. At its core, Epicureanism asserts that the pursuit of pleasure is the main goal of life. However, it distinguishes between different types of pleasures, placing significant emphasis on mental pleasure and tranquility over mere physical indulgence. Epicurus believed that the highest form of pleasure comes from achieving a state of inner calm and freedom from distress. For him, mental pleasures, such as friendship, reflection, and knowledge, far outweigh the fleeting joys derived from material possessions or physical sensations. He famously stated that pleasure is the beginning and the end of a happy life. Yet this does not imply indulgence in endless sensory experiences, but rather a cultivation of simpler, more meaningful joys. In discussing pleasure, Epicureanism invites us to reconsider our common perceptions. It encourages us to think about what truly brings us happiness. For example, consider the enjoyment of a warm meal shared with friends compared to the temporary satisfaction of a lavish feast. The laughter and connection fostered in the company of loved ones create lasting memories, which can be more fulfilling than momentary excess. Moreover, Epicureanism emphasizes the importance of understanding and managing desires. Epicurus classified desires into three categories: natural and necessary, natural but unnecessary, and vain. The first category includes basic needs like food, water, and shelter, what we require for survival and health. The second encompasses desires that can enhance our lives but are not essential, such as certain luxuries. The third category includes things that society often pushes us to want, like fame or wealth, which can lead to endless striving and dissatisfaction. By pursuing only the first two categories of desires and minimizing the influence of vain desires, Epicurus argued that we can attain contentment and serenity. This intentional choice allows individuals to focus on experiences and values that truly contribute to their well-being. Such an approach fosters not only personal satisfaction, but also a sense of community and rapport with others. A key tenet of Epicureanism is the concept of ataraxia, which translates to a state of serene calmness, free from fear and anxiety. Epicurus believed that fear, especially the fear of death and the afterlife, can lead to a troubled mind. He taught that death is simply the end of consciousness and should not be feared. By understanding that death is not something to be experienced, and, thus, cannot be painful, one can find freedom and live life more fully. The philosophy also addresses the fear of divine retribution. Epicurus argued that the gods, if they existed, would not interfere in human affairs. This understanding allows individuals to liberate themselves from superstitions and fears that can cloud their peace of mind. A life free from these fears enables individuals to focus on what is essential: relationships, personal growth, and present experiences. Friendship, another significant aspect of Epicureanism, is seen as one of the greatest sources of pleasure. Epicurus considered friendships vital for cultivating a happy life. He asserted that sharing experiences and support with others enhances joy and mitigates life's challenges. The bonds formed through genuine connections nourish the soul and bring lasting contentment. Epicureanism also challenges the notion that pleasure must always be in excess. Instead, it promotes the idea of moderation. Learning to appreciate the simple pleasures, like enjoying a beautiful sunset, savoring a cup of tea, or engaging in a deep conversation, can lead to profound satisfaction. These experiences, though often overlooked, can cultivate a sense of gratitude and contentment. In modern times, the principles of Epicureanism remain relevant. Many find solace in its teachings, particularly when navigating the complexities of contemporary life. The fast pace and constant changes can lead to anxiety and dissatisfaction. Embracing Epicurean ideas encourages individuals to slow down, focus on what brings genuine joy, and cultivate a peaceful mindset, qualities that can improve overall life satisfaction. Ultimately, Epicureanism invites us to explore the depths of pleasure and enjoyment, urging us to seek happiness through intellectual and emotional fulfillment rather than solely through physical pursuits. By practicing mindfulness and appreciating the simple, everyday moments, we can lead a more enriched, contented life. Through this lens, pleasure becomes not just an experience, but a journey toward deeper understanding and lasting tranquility. This philosophy acts as a gentle reminder that the pathway to true joy lies in the embrace of thoughtful living and meaningful connections. Pluralism is a fascinating viewpoint that shapes our understanding of reality in a rich and complex manner. It asserts that the world is made up of many different kinds of entities and perspectives, rather than just a single, unified truth. Imagine walking into an art gallery filled with a variety of paintings, sculptures, and installations. Each piece represents a unique vision, a distinct interpretation of beauty, emotion, and experience. Just as no single work of art can capture the entirety of human experience, pluralism suggests that our reality is woven from diverse threads of existence, ideas, and truths. Consider the natural world around us. From the tiniest microscopic organisms to towering mountains and vast oceans, the planet is an intricate tapestry of life forms and ecosystems. Each species contributes to the overall balance and richness of the environment, and scientists recognize that understanding biodiversity is crucial to preserving it. This idea echoes the essence of pluralism, emphasizing that different entities possess unique qualities that are valuable to the whole. Just as in nature, where each organism plays a vital role, in society, various perspectives enrich our collective understanding. In the realm of philosophy, pluralism challenges the notion that there is only one valid way to perceive the world. For example, consider how different cultures interpret concepts like family, community, and morality. In some cultures, the family unit may extend beyond blood relations to include close friends and neighbors. In others, individualism is highly valued. Pluralism embraces these differing viewpoints, fostering a climate where diverse ideas can coexist and dialogue can thrive. This approach encourages us to listen to one another and appreciate the myriad of experiences that shape our understanding of life. Religious pluralism offers another striking illustration of this concept. Around the globe, countless religions provide different frameworks for understanding existence, the divine, and ethics. Each religious tradition claims its path to meaning and understanding, yet they also reflect fundamental human questions and aspirations. In a pluralistic society, the coexistence of these diverse beliefs can lead to rich conversations and deeper insights into our common humanity. In practice, pluralism invites us to look at conflict not as a binary issue, but as a spectrum of perspectives. Imagine a group of people discussing a contentious issue, like environmental policy. Each person brings their own background, values, and experiences to the conversation. A pluralistic approach encourages participants to listen, find common ground, and appreciate the complexity of the challenges at hand. By acknowledging that multiple viewpoints can provide valuable insights, we open the door to more effective solutions that consider the varied needs of different communities. Art is another domain where pluralism shines brightly. The world of artistic expression is filled with diverse styles, techniques, and cultural influences. From the bold strokes of abstract expressionism to the delicate forms of traditional crafts, each artist contributes uniquely to our understanding of creativity. Instead of seeking a definitive style, pluralism in art celebrates the vast array of expressions that exist simultaneously. It invites viewers to engage with different artistic traditions and discover personal significance in various forms. Moreover, in education, pluralism encourages a curriculum that embraces a variety of perspectives rather than a single narrative. This can empower students to think critically, appreciate diversity, and engage with multiple sources of knowledge. When young minds are exposed to different ideas, they can draw connections between disciplines, cultures, and experiences, fostering innovative thinking and encouraging them to challenge assumptions. In essence, pluralism is not merely about tolerance or acceptance. It goes deeper. It recognizes that the richness of life stems from our differences, and that these differences can lead us to greater understanding. Just like a well-tended garden, where various plants coexist and contribute to the ecosystem, a pluralistic society flourishes by embracing and nurturing its diverse elements. Ultimately, pluralism reminds us that reality is multifaceted and layered, inviting curiosity and exploration. It encourages us to seek connections among different ideas and experiences, much like a detective piecing together a complex puzzle. By celebrating the diversity of thought and existence, we cultivate a more vibrant, insightful world. Pluralism challenges us to engage with others in meaningful ways, creating a tapestry of understanding that reflects our shared humanity and the beauty of our varied experiences. So as we navigate our complex lives, let us remember that it is in our diversity that we often find our greatest strength and inspiration. Logical positivism is a fascinating philosophical theory that emerged in the early 20th century, primarily associated with the Vienna Circle, a group of philosophers and scientists who sought to unify science and philosophy. At its core, logical positivism asserts that knowledge should be grounded in observable phenomena, and that statements are only meaningful if they can be verified through empirical evidence or are tautological, that is, true by definition. Imagine for a moment standing outside and observing the world around you. You see a tree, hear the rustling leaves, and feel the warmth of the sun. These observations are concrete, tangible, and can be verified by anyone who shares your experience. Logical positivists argue that statements about the world should adhere to this standard of verification. If a claim cannot be tested or observed, it falls into the realm of the nonsensical or the unverifiable. One classic illustration of this principle is the statement, "All bachelors are unmarried." This statement is tautological because its truth can be established simply by analyzing the definitions of the terms involved. No external observation is needed to verify it. On the other hand, a claim like God exists raises questions about its empirical verifiability. Since the existence of God cannot be conclusively evidenced through observation or experimentation, logical positivists would argue that such a statement lacks meaning in a philosophical context. This approach to philosophy sparked notable debates and discussions within the field. For instance, logical positivism challenged traditional metaphysics and theology by critiquing their reliance on abstract concepts that could not be empirically tested. If a statement cannot be subjected to observation or experiment, logical positivists would argue it should be dismissed as meaningless. They sought to purify philosophical discourse by focusing on statements that could be scientifically evaluated. The movement towards verifying meaning through empirical evidence also intertwined with the development of the scientific method. The logical positivists emphasized that scientific inquiry relies on hypotheses that can be tested and either validated or falsified through experimentation. Picture a scientist in a lab, formulating a hypothesis about a chemical reaction, observing the results, and drawing conclusions. This process exemplifies the spirit of logical positivism, which values knowledge based on objective and observable facts. Yet, while logical positivism aimed to streamline philosophical inquiry, it faced criticism. One major point of contention was its self-referential principle. The verification criterion itself cannot be empirically verified. Therefore, one could argue that it fails its own test of meaningfulness. Critics also pointed out that some meaningful statements, particularly ethical or aesthetic ones, cannot be easily reduced to empirical observations. Can we measure the beauty of a painting or the feeling of love through mere observation? These critiques highlight the limitations and challenges faced by logical positivism in accounting for the entire spectrum of human experience. Despite these criticisms, logical positivism significantly influenced various fields, including philosophy of language, philosophy of science, and even linguistics. By emphasizing the importance of clarity and precision in language, it encouraged philosophers and scientists to articulate their ideas in a manner that is clear and testable. Imagine navigating a complex topic with clarity. When we strip away ambiguity and ensure that our statements can be understood and tested, we pave the way for effective communication and knowledge sharing. Logical positivism advocates for this clarity and encourages us to be rigorous in our thinking. Furthermore, logical positivism contributed to the development of the philosophy of language by pushing thinkers to explore how language relates to the world. The famous philosopher Ludwig Wittgenstein, while initially aligning with some aspects of logical positivism, later challenged its principles, particularly in his later works. His exploration of the use of language in ordinary life illustrated that meaning is also derived from context and usage, which contrasts with the strict verification criteria pushed by the logical positivists. As we reflect on logical positivism, we recognize its lasting impact on both philosophy and science. The emphasis on empirical verification, clarity, and the rejection of meaningless statements encourages us to engage with the world in a systematic, thoughtful manner. In conclusion, logical positivism stands as a pivotal movement in the philosophy of the 20th century. By promoting the idea that only verifiable truths hold meaning, it reshaped philosophical discourse and established a framework for considering knowledge through the lens of empirical science. Its legacy is still felt today as we continue to grapple with the relationship between language, knowledge, and experience. So as we ponder the ideas presented by logical positivism, let us appreciate its quest for clarity and meaning in a world that often seems complex and filled with ambiguity. Phenomenology is a fascinating philosophical movement that delves deeply into the structure of human experience. It began in the early 20th century, primarily through the work of Edmund Husserl, a German philosopher who sought to establish a rigorous foundation for philosophy itself. Central to phenomenology is the idea that human consciousness is always directed towards something. This means that our thoughts, feelings, and perceptions are not isolated experiences. Instead, they connect us to the world around us. To understand phenomenology, imagine standing in a beautiful forest. As you observe your surroundings, you might notice the swaying of the trees, the chirping of the birds, and the cool breeze against your skin. In this moment, your consciousness is engaged with the entirety of the experience. Phenomenology encourages us to focus on this experience, to examine how we perceive and interpret the world, and to understand the essence of experiences without preconceived notions or biases. Husserl introduced the concept of intentionality, which refers to the directedness of consciousness. When you feel joy, for example, you are not just experiencing a feeling. You are experiencing joy in relation to something, maybe a cherished memory or a loved one. This relation between consciousness and its objects is crucial to phenomenology. Husserl believed that by studying these connections, we could uncover the fundamental structures of experience and gain insights into human nature. Another important figure in the realm of phenomenology is Martin Heidegger, who expanded upon Husserl's ideas and explored the nature of existence itself. Heidegger emphasized the idea of being and how our experiences shape our understanding of what it means to exist. He encouraged us to reflect on our own existence and to recognize that every experience contributes to our sense of self-awareness. For instance, when you encounter a stranger and sense a connection, that moment is part of how you come to understand not just them, but also yourself. Moving beyond Husserl and Heidegger, phenomenology has influenced many modern philosophical movements, including existentialism and hermeneutics. Existentialists like Jean-Paul Sartre applied phenomenological principles to address topics such as freedom and responsibility. They focused on the subjective experience of individuals and how personal choices shape one's identity and existence. Hermeneutics, the study of interpretation, also draws heavily from phenomenological ideas. Think about reading a novel. Your understanding of the themes, characters, and emotions is not just based on the text itself, but also on your own life experiences and perceptions. This interplay between text and reader is a prime example of how phenomenology can illuminate our understanding of human consciousness. Throughout the years, phenomenology has evolved and diversified into various branches, including existential phenomenology and social phenomenology. Existential phenomenology, as seen in the works of thinkers like Maurice Merleau-Ponty, emphasizes the embodied nature of experience. This approach considers how our physical bodies influence our perception of the world. For instance, the way you feel when dancing with friends is not just a mental state, but a combination of your physical movements and emotional connections. Social phenomenology, on the other hand, explores how our social interactions shape our experiences. The work of Alfred Schutz highlights how our daily life is influenced by the perspectives of others. When you attend a concert, for example, your experience is affected not only by the music but also by the collective energy of the crowd and the shared experience of being present together. This communal aspect of experience adds layers of meaning that we cannot overlook. In recent years, phenomenology has found applications in fields like psychology, education, and even artificial intelligence. Researchers use phenomenological methods to gain insights into how individuals experience mental health challenges, educational environments, and technology. By investigating these lived experiences, we can develop deeper understandings that inform practice and policy. As you reflect on these ideas, consider how your own moments of awareness contribute to your personal growth. Every experience, whether profound or mundane, shapes who you are. It is through examining these experiences that we can begin to understand the rich tapestry of consciousness. In conclusion, phenomenology invites us to explore the nature of our experiences deeply, urging us to recognize the connections between ourselves and the world. It encourages an appreciation of the subjective nature of reality, highlighting that our understanding is shaped by both our individual perceptions and our interactions with others. Through this exploration, we can gain insights into the essence of human consciousness and the complexities of self-awareness, leading to a fuller appreciation of our existence in this intricate world. Structuralism is a fascinating intellectual movement that emerged in the early 20th century, primarily in the fields of anthropology, linguistics, and literary theory. It offers a unique way of understanding human culture, not as an isolated set of practices or artifacts, but as part of a larger interconnected system. This perspective allows us to see the underlying structures that shape our beliefs, behaviors, and interactions. At the core of structuralism is the idea that Elements within a culture, such as language, rituals, myths, or social institutions, must be examined in relation to one another. Think of a structure as a vast, intricate web where each strand relies on and connects with the others. For example, let's consider a simple word. On its own, a word might seem like just a label for an object. However, when we bring it into a sentence, its meaning becomes dependent on other words around it. This interdependence illustrates how language operates within a broader system of communication. One of the most prominent figures in structuralism is Ferdinand de Saussure, a Swiss linguist. He argued that language is not merely a collection of sounds or written symbols, but a system of differences. Saussure proposed that we understand words not by their intrinsic meaning, but in relation to what they are not. For instance, the word cat carries meaning because it evokes an idea that is distinct from dog, mouse, or bird. In this sense, the structure of language helps us create meaning collectively. Moving to anthropology, we see this principle beautifully reflected in the works of Claude Lévi-Strauss. He believed that cultural phenomena, such as myths, kinship structures, and food customs, serve similar roles and that they align with broader cultural structures. Lévi-Strauss famously analyzed myths, uncovering the common structures that run through various cultures. He argued that all societies are fundamentally similar in how they construct meaning, even if the content of their myths varies widely. By comparing myths from different cultures, he identified universal patterns in storytelling that transcend individual experiences. Structuralism also extends its reach into the field of literary theory. When we read a story, we often focus on characters, plots, and themes. However, structuralist critics encourage us to consider how these elements function within the context of the entire narrative framework. For example, a character's development can be understood through their relationships with other characters and how they fit into the story's overall structure. This approach reveals deeper layers of meaning, emphasizing that no single element functions independently. It exists as part of a larger cohesive whole. Moreover, structuralism invites us to explore how cultural practices are influenced by economic, social, and political systems. For instance, consider a traditional wedding ceremony. It may appear as a straightforward event at first glance, but when we analyze it, we notice its ties to societal norms, economic arrangements, and even historical contexts. The way people dress, the rituals they perform, and the roles they play are all dictated by the larger structure of culture and society. Critics of structuralism argue that it may overlook the fluidity and dynamic nature of culture. They contend that human experience is not just about fixed structures, but also about personal agency and individual expression. While structuralism emphasizes the systems at play, it is essential to balance this perspective with an understanding of how people actively shape and reinterpret their cultural experiences. In recent years, structuralism has influenced various fields beyond its original domains. For example, in psychology, some theorists have drawn on structuralist ideas to analyze the frameworks that shape human thought processes. In contemporary art, artists often explore structuralist concepts by deconstructing familiar forms and examining the systemic relationships within their works. Despite its developments and critiques, structuralism remains a powerful lens through which we can examine the intricacies of human culture. It encourages us to think critically about the ways our beliefs, behaviors, and symbols resonate within larger systems. By recognizing these connections, we can gain a richer understanding of how cultures evolve and function, revealing the deeper meanings that underpin our everyday lives. Understanding structuralism allows us to appreciate the unseen threads that bind cultural phenomena together. It highlights the importance of context by revealing that every element, even the simplest of words or actions, carries multiple layers of meaning shaped by broader systems. This intricate tapestry of relationships invites us to explore and engage with the cultural world around us, leading to richer insights and deeper connections with one another. As we unravel and examine these connections, we gain a better understanding of ourselves and the complex societies we inhabit. The study of structuralism remains a valuable pursuit for anyone interested in the intricacies of human thought, expression, and interconnectedness. Postmodernism emerged as a distinctive movement in the late 20th century, capturing a wide range of ideas, styles, and philosophical approaches that marked a significant departure from modernism. Rooted in an increasingly complex world, postmodernism reflects the changing dynamics of society, culture, and technology, characterized by a playful, self-aware, and often ironic perspective. At its core, postmodernism operates on the premise that there are no absolute truths or universal narratives. Unlike modernism, which sought to find meaning and coherence in a rapidly changing world through grand narratives and ideals, postmodern thought embraces plurality and ambiguity. This drastic shift can be observed across various disciplines, including literature, art, architecture, and philosophy. In literature, postmodernist authors often employ unconventional storytelling techniques. They may blur the lines between fiction and reality, using metafiction to draw attention to their own narrative structures. For example, in works like If on a Winter's Night a Traveler by Italo Calvino, readers are met with an exploration of the process of reading itself. The book unfolds in a way that constantly reflects on its own narrative development, inviting readers to engage with the very nature of storytelling. Similarly, postmodern art challenges traditional boundaries and notions of creativity. Artists like Andy Warhol and Roy Lichtenstein utilize techniques derived from commercial culture, incorporating elements of mass media and consumerism into their work. Warhol's Campbell's soup cans, for instance, serve as a commentary on the value of art and the blurring of lines between high art and everyday objects. This approach encourages viewers to question their perceptions of art and invites multiple interpretations. Architecture, too, has been significantly shaped by postmodern ideas. Unlike the minimalism and functionality of modernist design, postmodern architecture often embraces eclecticism and historical references. A famous example is the Piazza d'Italia in New Orleans, designed by Charles Moore. This public space combines playful colors, classical elements, and modern materials to create an environment that celebrates contradiction and paradox, deviating from notions of a singular architectural style. This can ignite conversations about how we interact with spaces, leading to a deeper understanding of our surroundings. Moreover, postmodernism illustrates a fascination with the concept of simulation and hyperreality. French philosopher Jean Baudrillard explored how the line between reality and representation becomes increasingly blurred in a world filled with images and signs. This idea is vividly represented in popular culture, as seen in films like The Matrix, where the characters navigate a simulated reality that challenges their understanding of existence. This exploration invites audiences to reflect on the nature of their own experiences and the media they consume. In the realm of philosophy, postmodernism brings forth thinkers such as Michel Foucault and Jacques Derrida. Foucault's theories on power and knowledge reveal how societal structures shape our understanding of truth. He posits that concepts like authority and control are not fixed, but are continually constructed and deconstructed within cultural contexts. Derrida's deconstruction method similarly challenges established meanings, asserting that language is inherently unstable. This approach encourages us to question accepted narratives and think critically about the ways language shapes our perceptions. Example plays and performances in the theater also reflect postmodern sensibilities. Works by playwrights like David Mamet often disrupt traditional narrative forms. His play Glengarry Glen Ross uses fragmented dialogue and overlap in speech to depict the chaotic nature of real-life conversations, drawing attention to the artifice behind theatrical representation. Such performances invite audiences to recognize the constructed nature of theater and act as a mirror to societal dysfunctions. Despite its seemingly playful and ironic elements, postmodernism grapples with deep philosophical questions about identity, culture, and truth. The movement highlights the fragmentation of contemporary experience, acknowledging the influence of technology, globalization, and multiculturalism on our lives. This opens up discussions about the intersection of personal and collective narratives, especially in today's interconnected world where diverse voices and stories coexist. In conclusion, postmodernism represents a vibrant and multifaceted exploration of ideas and forms. It encourages us to embrace complexity, question established norms, and appreciate the richness of diverse perspectives. By acknowledging the subjective nature of truth and creativity, postmodernism invites us to engage with the world in ways that are reflective, critical, and above all, aware of the intricate tapestry that shapes our experience. The legacy of postmodernism continues to resonate, urging us to think beyond the boundaries of convention and to appreciate the layers of meaning that surround us in our daily lives. Postcolonialism is a lens through which we can examine the intricate tapestry of cultural, political, and social legacies left in the wake of colonialism and imperialism. It invites us to delve into the complexities of identity, power dynamics, and historical narratives shaped by colonial encounters. Understanding post-colonialism requires us to consider how colonial powers imposed their languages, cultures, and governance structures upon diverse societies, often leading to profound transformations that are still felt today. To begin, let's explore how post-colonialism analyzes cultural identity. During and after the colonial period, indigenous cultures were frequently undermined, as colonial powers sought to legitimize their rule by portraying their way of life as superior. This often led to a significant erosion of traditional practices, languages, and belief systems, creating a cultural dislocation for many communities. Writers like Chinua Achebe or Salman Rushdie articulate this complexity in their works, reflecting on the struggles faced by individuals attempting to reconcile their colonial pasts with their current realities. Another vital idea within post-colonial studies is the concept of hybridity. This notion suggests that cultures are not monolithic. Rather, they are constantly evolving and influenced by various factors, including colonization. A prime example of this is the blending of cultures that results from colonial rule, producing unique identities that embody both indigenous and colonial elements. The foods people eat, the languages they speak, and even the festivals they celebrate can often reflect this fusion. Furthermore, post-colonialism critiques how narratives surrounding history are constructed. Educational curriculums, literature, and even media play significant roles in shaping our understanding of the past. Often, colonial narratives omit the voices and experiences of colonized peoples, leading to a skewed perception of historical events. Scholars in this field advocate for a more nuanced approach, encouraging the inclusion of various perspectives that highlight the resilience and agency of colonized societies. Political structures are also a critical focus of post-colonial analysis. Many nations that gained independence after centuries of colonial rule faced the challenge of building governments that represented the diverse populations they served. Post-colonial scholars examine the ongoing power struggles in these societies, as newfound leaders often grapple with the legacies of colonial governance and the expectations of their people. The legacy of colonization can result in complicated relationships with former colonial powers, affecting international relations and economic practices. Additionally, post-colonialism addresses the impact of globalization, which many argue echoes the patterns of historical colonialism. In today's interconnected world, we see a movement of cultures, ideas, and goods that can sometimes overshadow local traditions. While globalization can promote cross-cultural interactions and exchanges, it can also perpetuate new forms of dominance, with certain cultures becoming commodified while others risk being marginalized. This ongoing conversation highlights the importance of cultural preservation and the need to respect the stories and practices of all communities. The field of post-colonialism also intersects with other academic disciplines, including gender studies and environmental studies. Feminist scholars have brought attention to how colonialism affected gender roles, emphasizing that women in colonized societies experienced unique challenges and resistances. Likewise, post-colonial environmentalists explore how colonial practices have historically impacted landscapes and ecosystems, advocating for sustainability that considers both cultural heritage and ecological preservation. In examining literature from a post-colonial perspective, we uncover texts that challenge dominant narratives and provoke critical thought about identity, culture, and belonging. Novels, poetry, and essays often reflect the struggles of individuals caught between their colonial pasts and their aspirations for the future. The works of authors like Ngugi wa Thiong'o emphasize the importance of language in maintaining cultural identity, while those of Arundhati Roy present compelling critiques of the socio-political issues prevalent in post-colonial societies. Art and visual culture also play a significant role in post-colonial discourse. Artists utilize various mediums to convey messages about heritage, resistance, and identity, often questioning the representations of their cultures in mainstream media. For instance, contemporary artists might challenge the stereotypes that developed during colonial rule, redefining how their histories are portrayed and understood. As listeners engage with post-colonial thought, they are encouraged to reflect on their own positionality within these conversations. Understanding the legacies of colonialism means recognizing the complexities of one's own cultural identity and histories. It fosters a greater appreciation for the diversity of human experiences and encourages ongoing dialogue about justice, equity, and coexistence. In summary, post-colonialism is a vibrant and dynamic field that engages with the legacies of colonialism and imperialism. It provides a vital space for exploring cultural identities, power dynamics, historical narratives, and contemporary issues that arise from a colonial history. By examining various perspectives and interpretations, we gain deeper insights into the intricate relationships that shape our world today. The exploration of postcolonialism cultivates a richer understanding of our shared past and its ongoing influence on our present and future. In doing so, it invites us to consider how we can work towards a more equitable and inclusive world for all cultures and identities. Realism is a fascinating philosophical concept that has captured the imaginations of thinkers for centuries. At its core, realism asserts that there exists a reality independent of our perceptions. It suggests that things exist in the world, regardless of whether we are aware of them or not. Imagine a tree standing tall in a dense forest. Whether someone is there to see it or not, that tree exists and continues to grow, thriving under the sunlight, receiving rain, and interacting with the surrounding environment. To understand realism, consider the famous philosophical debate about whether the world is merely a construct of our thoughts. Realists argue that the external world is tangible and objective. Take, for instance, the phenomenon of gravity. No matter how many people understand or misunderstand this force, gravity operates the same way for everyone. It causes an apple to fall from a tree, regardless of whether anyone is watching. In this sense, realism allows us to engage with the world around us based on the belief that certain truths are universal and constant. This idea of an independent reality leads us to explore various branches of realism within philosophy. For example, in metaphysics, philosophical realism examines the nature of existence itself. It posits that objects and entities exist independently of our thoughts or beliefs about them. Consider a mountain. Irrespective of our interpretations or emotions surrounding it, the mountain maintains its physical presence. It can be climbed, measured, and experienced without any need for a human observer to validate its existence. The implications of realism extend into many areas, such as science and ethics. In science, realist perspectives maintain that scientific theories describe aspects of reality, even if they may be subject to change upon new discoveries. For example, the theory of atoms has shifted from being a philosophical idea to an understood reality of matter. Realists believe that as our scientific understanding evolves, we draw closer to an accurate representation of the world, not merely creating a fanciful narrative. Thus, realism reinforces the pursuit of knowledge, suggesting that truth is out there waiting to be discovered. In the realm of ethics, moral realism takes a similar stance. It asserts that there are objective moral truths that exist independently of human opinion. For instance, the belief that causing unnecessary harm to others is wrong does not rely on personal feelings or cultural context. Instead, it stands as an objective truth that transcends individual or societal viewpoints. This concept invites rich discussions about morality and challenges the idea that ethics is purely subjective. Delving deeper into realism reveals various philosophical positions. One notable aspect is scientific realism, which argues that the entities posited by scientific theories, such as electrons and genes, are indeed real and exist independently of our observations. This perspective contrasts with instrumentalist views, which see scientific theories as valuable tools for predicting phenomena, but not necessarily as accurate representations of reality. Furthermore, we come to a fascinating debate between realism and idealism. Idealism, as counter to realism, suggests that reality is primarily mentally constructed. Advocates of idealism argue that our perceptions shape the nature of existence itself. For them, the act of observing has a profound influence on the reality we experience. The famous thought experiment known as Schrödinger's cat illustrates this point. In this scenario, a cat placed in a box is simultaneously alive and dead until observed, emphasizing the idea that reality can be influenced by observation. Realists challenge this view, insisting that regardless of observation, the state of the cat remains constant. The realism debate extends to the arts as well. Artistic realism seeks to depict life accurately, portraying subjects as they are, without embellishments. This movement observes the beauty in everyday life, capturing the ordinary in an extraordinary manner. By showcasing the nuances of reality, artists invite viewers to appreciate the rich tapestry of life that exists beyond their immediate perceptions. In conclusion, realism presents a compelling perspective on the nature of existence, emphasizing that reality exists independently of human observation. This concept encourages us to explore the world around us with curiosity and an open mind, reminding us that there are truths waiting to be discovered, hidden within the fabric of reality. Through developing our understanding of realism, we can appreciate the interconnectedness of existence, scientific inquiry, and ethical considerations. In a world that is ever evolving, the quest for objective truths remains a guiding compass, illuminating our path through a complex and vibrant reality. Idealism is a fascinating philosophy that delves deep into the nature of reality and existence, proposing that the universe is fundamentally shaped by our minds and perceptions. At its core, idealism suggests that what we consider to be the material world is actually influenced, if not constructed, by our consciousness and experiences. This perspective shifts the focus from an external reality that exists independently of us to one where the mind plays a central role in interpreting and giving meaning to our surroundings. One way to grasp idealism is to think about how each person perceives the world differently. Imagine walking through a vibrant forest. One person might marvel at the intricate details of the leaves and the birds singing, feeling a deep sense of connection to nature. Another person might feel overwhelmed by the environment, focusing on the looming trees and the sensation of being lost. Each individual experiences the forest differently, suggesting that their interpretations contribute to the reality of the forest itself. This illustrates how our perceptions shape our experience and understanding of the world around us. Idealism is often contrasted with materialism, which posits that physical matter is the primary substance of reality. In contrast, idealists assert that the mind or consciousness is primary. This means that, rather than matter being the foundation of all existence, it is our thoughts, ideas, and perceptions that construct our understanding of the world. Philosophers like George Berkeley famously encapsulated this notion with the phrase, "To be is to be perceived," emphasizing that the existence of objects is dependent on them being viewed or thought about. Consider the realm of art and creativity. When an artist paints a scene, what they create is not merely a reflection of an external reality, but an expression of their inner thoughts, feelings, and interpretations. This work becomes a subjective experience that invites viewers to engage with it in unique ways. Each person who gazes at the painting brings their own thoughts and emotions into the experience, thus co-constructing the meaning and essence of the artwork. This further illustrates an idealist perspective where reality is a collaborative interaction between the mind and external stimuli. Another example can be drawn from literature. A novelist creates characters and worlds that may be entirely fictional, yet these creations influence readers' perceptions and ignite their imaginations. Every reader will bring their own life experiences, knowledge, and emotions to the text, causing the narrative to take on different meanings for different individuals. In this way, the novel exists not just as a physical object on a shelf, but as an immersive reality shaped by the thoughts and insights of its readers. Idealism also finds its way into the realm of science, especially in discussions about consciousness and observation. The famous double-slit experiment in quantum physics illustrates how the act of observation affects the behavior of particles. When scientists attempt to observe particles passing through slits, the particles exhibit different behaviors compared to when they are not observed. This leads to philosophical questions about the nature of reality. Does the act of observation itself create the reality we perceive? Such questions draw parallels to idealist thought, suggesting that the mind has an active role in shaping the universe. In the realm of ethics and morality, idealism influences our understanding of values. If reality is mentally constructed, then our moral frameworks can also be seen as shaped by collective beliefs and societal norms. Different cultures and communities create varying moral standards based on their unique perspectives and experiences. An idealist approach would encourage an exploration of these differences, and an understanding that our ethical beliefs are deeply tied to how we collectively perceive and interpret human interactions. Moreover, idealism invites us to reflect on the power of imagination. When someone dreams of a better future, or envisions possibilities for change, they are engaging in a process that can shape reality. By imagining what could be, individuals can inspire action and motivate others to bring those visions to life. Idealistic thinking can act as a catalyst for innovation, progress, and societal improvement, emphasizing how our perceptions and dreams can lead to tangible changes in the world. In summary, idealism invites us to consider the profound role that our minds play in constructing reality. Through our perceptions, thoughts, and feelings, we are not merely passive observers, but active participants in shaping our experiences. From the beauty of art and literature to the complexities of human interactions and scientific inquiry, idealism presents a lens through which we can understand the world as a dynamic interplay between mind and matter. Embracing this philosophy encourages us to reflect on our perspectives and recognize the power we hold in creating meaning and understanding in our lives. In the journey of life, there are moments that can feel overwhelming, times when we find ourselves pondering the essence of our existence. This experience, often referred to as an existential crisis, is not just a fleeting thought. It's a profound period of reflection that many individuals encounter at various points in their lives. Imagine standing at the edge of a serene lake, the surface smooth and reflective. It seems beautiful, yet deep down you feel a disturbance. You begin to wonder about the ripples beneath the calm exterior. This is often how life feels during an existential crisis. Everything appears normal on the surface, but beneath, questions bubble up. What is my purpose? Why am I here? What holds real significance in my life? These moments can arise during significant transitions. Perhaps it's during a graduation when the future feels uncertain, or after a career change where the familiar suddenly feels foreign. Even joyful occasions can prompt reflection, like becoming a parent, when the responsibility for another life brings a flood of questions about legacy. Each of these transitions can act as a mirror, reflecting the larger questions we might put off or seldom vocalize. Many find themselves echoing the sentiments of great thinkers throughout history. For instance, the philosopher Søren Kierkegaard spoke about despair as a condition of the human spirit clashing with its innate search for purpose. He suggested that understanding our own existential crisis is not merely about finding answers, but truly engaging with the questions themselves. In such moments, the act of questioning itself can lead to deeper self-awareness and discovery. One might also consider the tales of famous creatives who delved into their own existential crises. Vincent van Gogh, with all his vivid colors and swirling skies, battled inner turmoil, questioning the meaning behind his art and existence. His struggles were not in vain. They fueled his creations and left an indelible mark on the world. This suggests that an existential crisis can serve as a catalyst for creativity. As you navigate through your own moments of questioning, it may help to explore the concept of meaning beyond traditional measures. Many people find significance in connections with others. Relationships can serve as anchors, grounding us in moments of chaos. A simple conversation with a friend, sharing your thoughts and fears, can illuminate aspects of your life that feel unclear. It is in these exchanges that we often find a shared human experience. Many are feeling the same way, even if it's not openly discussed. Beyond interpersonal relationships, consider embracing various philosophies that have shaped cultures worldwide. The Stoics, for example, taught that meaning comes from within, emphasizing virtues like wisdom, courage, temperance, and justice as guides to a fulfilling life. Their principles encourage us to take responsibility for our thoughts and actions, which can provide a profound sense of purpose. On the other hand, Eastern philosophies often draw attention to the present moment and the beauty of mindfulness. The practice of being present can lead to a greater appreciation for the here and now, reminding us that meaning is woven through our daily experiences, the warmth of a cup of tea, the laughter shared in a gathering, the beauty of nature. Each moment carries its own significance if we allow ourselves to recognize it. Artistic expression, too, can be a refuge during periods of questioning. Writing or painting can become an outlet for the turmoil within. It allows for an exploration of thoughts and emotions that may feel too chaotic or unstructured to articulate otherwise. The process of creating can serve not only as a distraction, but also as a way to communicate profound truths about the self and the world. As you move through these reflective moments, remember that you are not alone in your journey. Countless individuals throughout history have grappled with similar dilemmas, and many have ultimately found clarity and direction. Whether through the introspective works of literature, philosophies advocating for action, or the shared experiences of loved ones, there is a wealth of resources available to navigate these complex feelings. It's worth noting that existential inquiries do not always lead to immediate resolutions. Instead, they may guide you toward new passions, relationships, or ways of engaging with the world. Embracing uncertainty can also be a powerful step toward personal growth. Within the complexities of this human experience lies the potential for transformation, leading us to paths we may never have considered before. So, as you ponder these questions, know that the search for meaning is timeless. Embrace the journey, and let each question serve as a stepping stone. Through exploration and reflection, the answers will come, not as definitive conclusions, but as evolving understandings that contribute to the rich tapestry of your life. In this continual dance of inquiry and discovery, you may find that meaning is not a destination, but a journey that unfolds over time. The debate between free will and determinism has fascinated philosophers, scientists, and thinkers for centuries. At its core, this discussion investigates whether human beings possess genuine control over their actions, or if everything we do is determined by prior causes and conditions. To better understand this complex topic, let's explore both sides of the argument. Supporters of free will assert that individuals possess the ability to make choices that are not predetermined. They argue that people have autonomy and can influence their destinies through their decisions. Imagine a person standing at a crossroads, where one path leads to pursuing a traditional career, while the other invites risk and creativity. A belief in free will supports the idea that this person weighs the options, considers their desires and values, and ultimately selects a direction that aligns with their identity. This perspective emphasizes the human experience, the understanding that we often reflect, deliberate, and choose based on our unique circumstances. On the other hand, proponents of determinism argue that every action and decision originates from a series of prior events and causes. According to this view, a person's choices are conditioned by factors such as genetics, upbringing, culture, and environment. For instance, if someone grew up in a household that valued education and hard work, they might be more inclined to pursue academic achievements. This raises an interesting question. Are their achievements truly a result of their choices, or are they simply following a path shaped by their background? Determinism suggests that much of what we consider free choice is highly influenced by the web of circumstances that led us to this moment. Philosophers have explored various concepts that intertwine with this debate. Compatibilism, for instance, suggests that free will and determinism are not mutually exclusive. It proposes that even if our choices are influenced by past events, we can still act freely in a meaningful way. Imagine a skilled musician performing a piece of music. While their style may be shaped by previous training and influences, they also express creativity and personal interpretation within the confines of their knowledge. This viewpoint accepts that human behavior can be both shaped by history and yet exhibit authentic freedom. Then there's the question of moral responsibility. If our choices are predetermined by factors beyond our control, can we be held accountable for our actions? Consider a person who commits a crime. A deterministic viewpoint might argue that their actions were the result of a myriad of past experiences and influences. However, society largely functions on the belief in personal responsibility, which underpins our legal and moral frameworks. This tension between acknowledging the complexity of human behavior and maintaining systems of justice creates a rich terrain for discussion. Neuroscience has also weighed in on this ancient debate. Some studies suggest that decisions are made in the brain before we consciously register them. This raises intriguing implications for the notion of free will. If our brains are firing signals and making choices before we're even aware of them, what does that mean for our sense of agency? Yet, many would argue that the mere fact of becoming aware of these decisions allows for reflection and perhaps a revision of choices. The dialogue around free will and determinism extends into the realm of existentialism, where figures like Sartre and Camus have explored the nature of human existence. They emphasize that, despite a world that may seem chaotic and absurd, individuals have the power to create meaning. The struggle against nihilism leads to a search for authenticity, where free will becomes a path to defining one's essence in a seemingly indifferent universe. In daily life, we effortlessly navigate this debate when we make choices. Think about something as simple as choosing what to eat for lunch. On one hand, you might feel that this choice is entirely yours, based on your preferences. On the other hand, consider how your past experiences, cultural influences, and even health considerations shape what you ultimately decide. This interplay between choice and influence manifests in countless moments throughout our lives. The impact of technology on decision-making also adds a new layer to this discussion. In an age dominated by data and algorithms, choices are increasingly influenced by external factors like social media and targeted advertising. This phenomenon raises questions about autonomy and authenticity. To what extent are we making independent choices versus responding to curated influences that guide our decisions in subtle ways? When it comes to personal development, understanding the dynamics of free will and determinism can be empowering. By recognizing the influences that shape our tendencies, we can take a more active role in our choices, publicly opting to change behaviors or pursue new pathways. Striving for growth may involve acknowledging our limitations, while simultaneously harnessing our ability to choose differently. Ultimately, the conversation surrounding free will and determinism does not yield a clear resolution, but instead invites continuous exploration. Whether we assert our power to choose or acknowledge the hand of circumstance, we engage with a fundamental aspect of humanity. This philosophical inquiry not only shapes our understanding of ourselves, but also informs our interactions with others, society, and the world at large. The ongoing dialogue encourages us to reflect on our place in the universe, the nature of our choices, and what it truly means to be human. Utilitarian ethics is a fascinating philosophical theory that seeks to determine the best course of action based on its outcomes. The core idea behind utilitarianism is quite simple. Actions should be evaluated based on their consequences, and the goal is to promote the greatest happiness for the greatest number of people. This ethical framework has had a profound impact on moral philosophy, shaping discussions in various fields such as politics, economics, and everyday decision-making. Imagine a scenario where a community faces a decision about building a new park. The town council must decide whether to use public funds for this project or allocate them to improving the public transportation system. The utilitarian approach would suggest evaluating these options by considering the overall happiness each choice can bring to the community. If building the park contributes significantly to the well-being of a larger number of people by providing a space for recreation, social interaction, and relaxation, while the transportation system improvements help a smaller segment of the population, utilitarian ethics would favor the park project. The guiding principle here is maximizing collective happiness. Historically, utilitarianism can be traced back to thinkers like Jeremy Bentham and John Stuart Mill. Bentham's version is often described as act utilitarianism, which evaluates individual actions based on their potential to generate happiness. In contrast, Mill introduced rule utilitarianism, suggesting that we should follow rules that, when generally adhered to, tend to produce the greatest good for society. For example, following laws prohibiting theft could lead to a more stable society, thereby promoting general happiness, even if there are specific instances where breaking a law might seem to benefit an individual. Central to utilitarian thinking is the concept of utility, which refers to the overall benefit or pleasure derived from an action. Utilitarianism promotes not only individual well-being, but also the importance of considering the impact of our actions on others. When faced with a choice, a utilitarian weighs the potential happiness created, or pain avoided, for all affected parties. This inclusive consideration can lead to more compassionate and socially responsible decision-making. The application of utilitarian ethics extends beyond personal decisions to public policy and global issues. For instance, when governments craft policies, they often strive to enact laws and regulations that promote the welfare of the majority. Consider healthcare. A government aiming to maximize public health may implement initiatives that provide vaccinations free of charge. The reasoning here is straightforward. The more individuals protected from diseases, the greater the overall happiness and societal productivity. However, utilitarianism isn't without its challenges. Critics argue that focusing solely on outcomes can lead to justifying actions that seem morally questionable. For example, in a scenario where sacrificing a single individual could save the lives of many, a strict utilitarian perspective might endorse such a sacrifice. This raises ethical concerns about individual rights and justice, emphasizing that not all consequences justify the means. Moreover, measuring happiness itself can be a complicated task. What constitutes happiness for one person may differ significantly for another. Therefore, utilitarians must navigate the differences in individual preferences and experiences. To address this, utilitarian thinkers have explored concepts like preference satisfaction, arguing that actions should be evaluated based on how well they fulfill individuals' desires and needs. In modern times, utilitarianism has found its place in discussions around climate change, animal rights, and economic policies. For instance, discussions on environmental conservation often revolve around the utilitarian perspective of what actions best serve the planet and humanity as a whole. By balancing the needs of different stakeholders, utilitarianism may offer pathways to compromise solutions that benefit a wider audience. Another fascinating application of utilitarian ethics can be found in the realm of artificial intelligence and technology. As societies increasingly rely on algorithms and data to make decisions, considerations about the consequences of these technologies become paramount. Developers and policymakers must consider how their creations impact the well-being of individuals and communities. Striking a balance between innovation and ethical responsibility is critical in ensuring that technological advancements contribute to our collective happiness. Utilitarian ethics encourages a thoughtful deliberation on how our choices affect the world around us. By promoting the greatest good for the greatest number, this framework invites us to consider not just our personal desires, but also the wider implications of our actions. It serves as a reminder that we are interconnected and that the well-being of one can often influence the well-being of many. Incorporating utilitarian principles into our daily lives can enrich our moral reasoning. When making decisions, we can ask ourselves how our actions affect others and strive to make choices that promote collective happiness. This approach fosters empathy and consideration, qualities essential for harmonious living within diverse communities. Ultimately, utilitarian ethics provides a compelling lens through which we can view ethical dilemmas. By focusing on consequences and striving for the greater good, we can navigate complex issues and engage in meaningful discussions about morality. Whether in personal choices or societal debates, the principles of utilitarianism remind us of our shared humanity and the importance of caring for one another. This perspective has the potential to transform not just individual lives but entire communities, fostering a world where the pursuit of happiness is both a personal journey and a collective mission. Immanuel Kant, an influential figure in philosophy, developed a compelling ethical theory known as Kantian ethics. This approach to morality is grounded in the belief that our actions should be guided by universal principles. At the heart of Kant's ethical framework is the view that the rightness or wrongness of an action is determined not by its consequences, but by whether it could be willed as a universal law. Imagine a world where everyone acts according to a specific principle. For instance, consider the idea of making a promise. If you say you will meet a friend at a certain time but have no intention of doing so, Kant would argue that this is wrong. Why? Because if everyone behaved that way, the very concept of a promise would dissolve. Trust would vanish, and promises would become meaningless. Therefore, Kant would assert that one should never lie or break promises, as this action cannot be made a universal law without contradiction. This leads to Kant's formulation of the categorical imperative, which serves as a test for ethical behavior. One version of this imperative advises that you should act only according to that maxim, which you can, at the same time will, that it should become a universal law. This means that before acting, you should consider whether you would want everyone else to act in the same way. This emphasis on universality forms a cornerstone of Kantian ethics. Kant also believed in the inherent dignity of individuals. He argued that every person has intrinsic worth and should be treated as an end in themselves, never merely as a means to an end. This highlights a significant aspect of his ethical theory: respect for human beings. For instance, if someone uses another person merely to gain something for themselves, they are treating that person as an object rather than as a valuable individual. This violates the principle of treating each person with respect and acknowledges their humanity. Another important concept in Kantian ethics is the idea of duty. According to Kant, our moral obligations are derived from reason and are not contingent upon personal desires or external factors. For example, if you see someone in need, your moral duty might compel you to help them, not because you expect something in return or feel particularly inclined to do so, but simply because it is the right thing to do. This sense of duty is central to Kant's understanding of ethics and solidifies his stance that morality is universal and absolute. Kant also distinguishes between hypothetical and categorical imperatives. Hypothetical imperatives are conditional and depend on an individual's desires or goals. For instance, if you want to become fit, you should exercise regularly. In contrast, categorical imperatives are unconditional and apply to all rational beings, regardless of their personal desires or situations. These categorical imperatives provide a foundation for moral law, emphasizing that certain actions are universally binding. Consider the implications of Kant's ethical theory in everyday life. When it comes to issues like telling the truth, Kantian ethics suggests that honesty should be practiced universally. If a person were to consider telling a lie, they would need to first evaluate whether it would be acceptable for everyone to lie in similar situations. This line of reasoning encourages consistency in moral judgment and promotes integrity. Kantian ethics also emphasizes the importance of intention in moral decision-making. Unlike consequentialist theories, where the outcome matters most, Kant asserts that what truly counts is the motivation behind an action. For example, if someone donates to charity solely for the sake of enhancing their public image, Kant would argue that this act lacks moral worth. The ethical significance lies not simply in the action itself, but in the goodwill and intention behind it. In a broader context, Kant's theories have profoundly shaped modern discussions about morality and ethics, particularly in relation to human rights. His insistence on the intrinsic value of every individual laid the groundwork for contemporary human rights advocacy, reinforcing the necessity that every person deserves respect and dignity. In conclusion, Kantian ethics provides a robust framework for understanding morality as a universal construct based on rational principles. By emphasizing the importance of duty, intention, and the intrinsic worth of individuals, Kant's philosophy urges us to consider the broader implications of our actions and foster a sense of moral responsibility towards ourselves and others. It encourages a societal view where respect for everyone's rights is paramount, promoting harmony and justice in our interactions. Virtue ethics is an approach to understanding morality that focuses on the development of good character traits, known as virtues, rather than strictly following rules or evaluating the consequences of actions. This perspective allows for a more holistic understanding of what it means to live a good life. The roots of virtue ethics can be traced back to ancient philosophers, particularly Aristotle, who argued that developing a virtuous character is essential for achieving eudaimonia, often translated as flourishing or living well. At its core, virtue ethics asserts that the moral quality of a person's actions is determined by their character. This means that rather than just looking at whether an action conforms to a set of rules or the outcome it produces, we should consider who the person is and what kind of person they are becoming. For instance, think about honesty. A person who values honesty will naturally strive to tell the truth, not simply because it is a rule to follow, but because being honest is part of who they are. This intrinsic motivation reflects a deeper understanding of ethics that is tied to personal development and well-being. A key aspect of virtue ethics is the significance of community and relationships. Virtues are often cultivated in social contexts, and the character of individuals can be shaped by their culture and interactions with others. For example, compassion as a virtue may be fostered in a community that emphasizes caring for one another. When people engage with others, share experiences, and support one another, they not only develop their virtues but also contribute to a positive environment that encourages moral behavior. Moreover, virtue ethics emphasizes the importance of practical wisdom or phronesis. This is the ability to navigate complex situations and make ethical decisions based on one's character and context, rather than relying solely on abstract rules. For instance, imagine a scenario where a friend is in distress. A person guided by practical wisdom will assess the situation, considering their knowledge and the virtues they embody, before deciding how to help. They might choose to listen empathetically, provide support, or even encourage the friend to seek professional help, depending on what is most beneficial at that moment. In contrast to other ethical frameworks, which often prioritize rules, like deontological ethics, or consequences, like consequentialism, virtue ethics allows for a more nuanced view of morality. It recognizes that life is not always black and white, and that what is right can vary based on specific circumstances and individual character traits. For example, while one might have a rule against lying, there may be instances where telling a small lie to protect someone's feelings is seen as the more compassionate choice. The virtue of kindness here takes precedence, allowing for a more flexible understanding of right and wrong. Another significant feature of virtue ethics is the idea of moral exemplars. These are individuals who embody virtuous qualities and serve as role models for others. By observing and learning from these examples, people can cultivate similar virtues in their own lives. For instance, someone might look up to a leader who demonstrates courage, integrity, and selflessness. This inspiration motivates individuals to reflect on their virtues and strive for personal growth in the same way. Accompanying the development of virtues is the notion of balance and moderation, often referred to as the golden mean. Aristotle suggested that virtues lie between extremes. For example, courage is the mean between recklessness and cowardice. By finding balance in the virtues we cultivate, we create a more dynamic and adaptable moral character. This perspective encourages individuals to think critically about how their virtues can guide their actions in various situations. In addition to fostering personal development, virtue ethics also resonates with contemporary issues. For instance, in today's fast-paced world, where people often prioritize achievement and success over moral character, adopting a virtue ethics perspective can encourage a more holistic approach to life. It prompts individuals to evaluate their motivations and the ways in which they engage with others. This not only enhances personal fulfillment, but also contributes to a more compassionate society. Ultimately, virtue ethics offers a rich, character-centered approach to understanding and cultivating morality. By focusing on virtues and moral character, we can pave the way for meaningful, ethical living that prioritizes the development of individuals and the relationships they foster with others. Emphasizing character over rules or consequences encourages a deeper connection to our values and the growth of our moral selves. Through this journey of self-discovery and virtue cultivation, we can aspire to live not just as good individuals, but as truly admirable ones. Jain philosophy is an ancient Indian belief system that has shaped the moral and ethical landscape of India for centuries. At its core, Jainism emphasizes nonviolence, truth, and respect for all living beings. This philosophy arises from the profound understanding that all forms of life are interconnected and deserve compassion and consideration. One of the key tenets of Jain philosophy is ahimsa, or nonviolence. This principle encourages followers to avoid causing harm to any living being, whether it is through actions, speech, or even thoughts. Imagine walking through a garden filled with life. Every step must be taken carefully to avoid crushing the tiniest insect. This deep sense of responsibility towards all forms of life cultivates empathy and compassion in individuals, fostering a peaceful coexistence with the world around them. Alongside ahimsa, truthfulness, or satya, holds great importance in Jain philosophy. Speaking the truth is not merely about honesty. It is about understanding the impact of our words on others. Jains are taught to consider the consequences of their speech and ensure that their truths do not harm others. For instance, sharing a truth that causes pain or distress contradicts the essence of Jain teaching. Instead, followers are encouraged to express truths that uplift and resonate positively with others. Another principle of Jainism is asteya, or non-stealing. This goes beyond the simple act of theft. It encompasses respect for others' possessions and time. Taking something that does not belong to you, even if it seems small or insignificant, violates the principle of asteya. This perspective encourages individuals to value what they have and respect the efforts of others, leading to a more harmonious society. Jain philosophy also emphasizes the importance of aparigraha, or non-possessiveness. This teaches individuals to live a life free from attachment to material possessions. Imagine a world where people focus on experiences rather than accumulating wealth. This principle encourages generosity and sharing, as Jains believe that true happiness comes from giving rather than receiving. By practicing aparigraha, individuals can cultivate a sense of freedom and contentment, recognizing that happiness does not stem from things but from meaningful connections and experiences. In addition to these core principles, Jain philosophy incorporates a profound respect for knowledge and learning. The path of knowledge, known as jnana, is seen as vital for spiritual growth. Jains are encouraged to seek wisdom, not just through study, but through self-exploration and introspection. This quest for understanding helps individuals recognize the multifaceted nature of reality and the diverse perspectives that exist within it. Meditation and self-discipline are also integral to Jain philosophy. Through practices like samayika, individuals learn to cultivate inner peace and mindfulness. This discipline helps followers maintain a sense of balance in their lives, fostering clarity and a deeper connection to their values and principles. By dedicating time for reflection and meditation, individuals can better navigate the complexities of their thoughts and emotions while reinforcing their commitment to nonviolence and truth. Jain philosophy is not merely a set of beliefs, but a way of life that encourages individuals to live with intention and awareness. This ancient wisdom teaches that every action holds significance, and the choices we make ripple through the universe. By embracing these teachings, followers of Jainism contribute to a greater understanding of harmony and respect for all beings. As the world continues to evolve, the principles of Jain philosophy remain relevant, offering guidance on how to lead a life of compassion and integrity. In a society often driven by competition and self-interest, the teachings of Jainism inspire a return to values centered on empathy, respect, and concern for the well-being of others. In conclusion, Jain philosophy is a beautiful tapestry of teachings that advocate for a life of non-violence, truth, and respect for all. It encourages individuals to reflect on their choices and understand the interconnectedness of all living beings. By living according to these principles, one can foster a more compassionate and harmonious existence, ultimately contributing to a more peaceful world. Taoism, also known as Taoism, is a profound and ancient Chinese philosophy that emphasizes living in harmony with the Tao, or the Way, which is considered the source of everything. The teachings of Taoism date back to the 6th century BCE and are traditionally attributed to the sage Laozi, who is believed to have written the foundational text known as the Tao Te Ching. This philosophy encourages individuals to align themselves with the natural flow of the universe, promoting balance both within oneself and in relation to the larger world. At its core, Taoism proposes that the Tao is an ineffable force that underpins all existence. It is not a deity in the conventional sense, but rather an all-encompassing principle that guides the natural world. Taoists believe that understanding and aligning with the Tao can lead to a harmonious and fulfilling life. This philosophy does not emphasize rigid rules or dogmas. Instead, it encourages spontaneity, simplicity, and a profound respect for nature. One of the key concepts in Taoism is Wu Wei, which translates to non-action or effortless action. This does not mean doing nothing, but rather implies an approach to life that is more about allowing events to unfold naturally rather than forcing one's will onto the world. Imagine standing by a stream, watching the water flow effortlessly around rocks and bends. The water does not struggle against the obstacles. It finds a way to move around them. This is a vivid illustration of Wu Wei. When individuals embrace this principle, they learn to navigate life's challenges with grace and ease. In Taoism, the balance of opposites is also paramount. This is often represented by the concept of yin and yang, which describes how seemingly opposite forces are interconnected and interdependent in the natural world. Yin is associated with qualities such as darkness, femininity, and passivity, while yang represents light, masculinity, and activity. Rather than viewing these forces as opposites in conflict, Taoism teaches that they complement and complete each other. Just as day gives way to night, and winter transitions to spring, understanding this interrelationship fosters a deeper appreciation for the cycles of life. Taoism places high value on nature and advocates for a deep connection to the natural world. Nature is seen as a reflection of the Tao and is revered as a source of wisdom. Observing the natural world provides insights into the workings of the universe and offers guidance for living harmoniously. For instance, consider the way trees grow. They do not forcefully reach for the sky. Instead, they grow towards the sunlight, adapting to their environment. Similarly, Taoism encourages people to be flexible and adaptable, responding to life circumstances in a way that promotes balance and peace. The practice of Tai Chi, a form of martial art that emphasizes slow, flowing movements, is deeply rooted in Taoist principles. Practitioners of Tai Chi focus on cultivating awareness, energy flow, and balance. This discipline exemplifies the Taoist ideals of harmony and unity with the world. Through the practice of Tai Chi, individuals often find a sense of tranquility and connection to the present moment, reinforcing the belief in living in accordance with the Tao. Another significant aspect of Taoism is its approach to health and wellness. Traditional Chinese medicine, which is influenced by Taoist thought, emphasizes balance within the body and mind. The health of an individual is viewed as a reflection of their alignment with the Tao. Practices such as acupuncture, herbal remedies, and qigong aim to restore this balance, allowing energy or qi to flow freely throughout the body. This holistic approach promotes well-being and emphasizes the interconnectedness of body, mind, and spirit. Taoism also invites contemplation of one's purpose and place in the universe. It encourages the exploration of the self and the understanding of one's intrinsic connection to all living things. This introspection fosters a sense of humility and reverence for the complexity of existence. By acknowledging that every action has a ripple effect on the world, Taoism inspires individuals to cultivate compassion and understanding towards themselves and others. In addition to its philosophical teachings, Taoism has influenced various aspects of Chinese culture, including art, poetry, and politics. Many works of Chinese literature, such as the writings of Zhuangzi, explore the playful and paradoxical nature of existence, often employing humor and storytelling to communicate deeper truths. The influence of Taoism can also be seen in Chinese landscape painting, where the beauty and majesty of nature are celebrated, reflecting the belief in the interconnectedness of humanity and the natural world. In essence, Taoism offers a profound perspective on life, encouraging individuals to cultivate harmony within themselves and with the universe. By embracing the principles of Wu Wei, understanding the balance of yin and yang, and fostering a deep connection with nature, one can navigate the complexities of life with grace and ease. As we explore the teachings of Taoism, we discover a path that invites us to appreciate the beauty of existence and to honor the wisdom of the Tao that weaves it all together. Embracing this philosophy can lead to a life of fulfillment, serenity, and profound connection to the world around us. Environmental ethics is a fascinating branch of philosophy that delves into the complex relationships between humans and the natural world. It examines our moral responsibilities towards the environment and the non-human entities that inhabit it. This discipline challenges us to contemplate whether nature has intrinsic value or whether it only holds worth as a resource for human use. At its core, environmental ethics invites us to consider a simple yet profound question. How should we, as individuals and as a society, relate to the natural world around us? It encourages us to think about our actions and their consequences on ecosystems, animal species, and the planet as a whole. This line of inquiry considers not just the immediate effects of our decisions, but also the long-term implications for generations to come. One popular perspective within environmental ethics is anthropocentrism, which asserts that humans hold a central position in the universe. From this viewpoint, nature is often seen primarily in terms of its utility to people. For instance, forests may be viewed as sources of timber, and rivers as essential for agriculture and transportation. While this approach has historically dominated human thinking, it raises questions about sustainability and responsibility. If we only value nature for what it provides us, how do we ensure that these resources remain available for future generations? In contrast, biocentrism offers a vision that recognizes the intrinsic value of all living beings. This perspective insists that non-human life forms have moral standing and deserve consideration and respect. It challenges us to view animals, plants, and ecosystems not merely as tools for human benefit, but as valuable members of a larger community. This shift in thinking has important implications on various issues, from animal rights to biodiversity conservation. For example, proponents of biocentrism may argue against factory farming practices that cause suffering to sentient beings, advocating instead for humane and ethical treatment of animals. Similarly, ecocentrism expands on these ideas by emphasizing the importance of entire ecosystems, rather than just individual organisms. This view posits that the health of ecological systems is paramount, and that humans are just one part of a broader interconnected web of life. Ecocentrism encourages us to consider how our actions impact not only individual species, but also the habitats they inhabit and the overall balance of the environment. For instance, pollution from industrial activities not only harms air and water quality, but disrupts entire ecosystems, revealing the ripple effects of human action. Another critical component of environmental ethics is the concept of sustainable development, which seeks to create a balance between human needs and the preservation of the environment. This concept urges us to reflect on how we can meet our current demands without compromising the ability of future generations to meet theirs. Sustainable practices may include everything from renewable energy and sustainable agriculture to conservation efforts aimed at protecting endangered species and natural habitats. Additionally, environmental ethics often intersects with social justice, as marginalized communities frequently bear the brunt of environmental degradation. Issues like climate change disproportionately affect low-income populations and people of color, sparking critical discussions about equity in environmental policy. This intersectionality highlights the need to consider human rights alongside ecological concerns, ensuring that all voices are heard in the dialogue about our relationship with nature. Taking action based on these ethical frameworks can lead to meaningful change. Individuals can start by making conscious choices, such as reducing waste, supporting local and sustainable businesses, and advocating for policies that protect the environment. Communities can come together to restore habitats, clean up polluted areas, and create green spaces that foster biodiversity. On a larger scale, governments and organizations can implement laws and initiatives that prioritize ecological health and focus on long-term sustainability. In conclusion, environmental ethics reminds us of our responsibility to the planet and all its inhabitants. It encourages us to cultivate a deeper awareness of how our actions impact the environment and to advocate for a world where humans coexist harmoniously with nature. By embracing diverse perspectives and ethical responsibilities, we can work towards a more sustainable and just future for all living beings. Through reflection and action, we hold the power to shape a more compassionate relationship with the environment, fostering a sense of stewardship that transcends generations. As we engage with these vital questions, we invite a deeper connection to the world around us, nurturing a profound respect for the intricate tapestry of life. The topic of animal rights has sparked extensive philosophical discussions, touching on various aspects of ethics, morality, and the inherent value of living beings. At the heart of this debate lies a fundamental question: what moral status should we ascribe to animals? This inquiry prompts us to examine the experiences of animals, their capacity for suffering, and their ability to express preferences. To begin understanding the animal rights debate, we can explore different philosophical perspectives that help form people's views. One influential viewpoint is utilitarianism, famously articulated by philosophers such as Jeremy Bentham and Peter Singer. According to this perspective, the rightness or wrongness of an action is determined by its consequences, particularly in terms of maximizing happiness and reducing suffering. Utilitarian thinkers argue that animals, like humans, can experience pain and suffering and, therefore, deserve consideration in moral decision-making. This leads to the idea that causing unnecessary harm to animals in contexts like factory farming or experimentation is ethically problematic. In contrast to utilitarianism, another significant philosophical approach is deontological ethics, which is exemplified by the work of Immanuel Kant. Deontologists often argue that moral rules and duties govern ethical behavior, regardless of the outcomes. While Kant himself is often seen as skeptical about the moral consideration of non-human animals, his ideas set the stage for later thinkers to argue for animal rights based on the inherent value of sentient beings. Instead of focusing solely on consequences, deontologists might stress that animals have a right to not be treated as mere means to human ends, thereby advocating for respect and dignity. There is also the concept of intrinsic value associated with animals, which emphasizes that certain beings possess value simply by being. This perspective is championed by various animal rights advocates and philosophers. Tom Regan, for instance, asserts that animals are subjects of a life, possessing desires, beliefs, and the capacity for experiencing the world. Regan argues that because animals are conscious beings with interests, they should not be treated as resources or commodities. This view leads to the concept of animal rights, where animals are granted moral standing similar to that of humans, resulting in a more compassionate and respectful approach to non-human life. The debate extends beyond philosophical discourse and enters the realm of ethics and everyday life. As society evolves, so too do views about how we treat animals. Practices such as factory farming, mass animal sacrifice for food, and animal experimentation have come under scrutiny. The rise of veganism and vegetarianism reflects a growing awareness of animal welfare and the impact of human choices on animal lives. Many people now question whether it is justifiable to use animals for food, clothing, or entertainment, prompting a reassessment of cultural norms and practices. Moreover, the conversation about animal rights intersects with other social justice movements. It raises questions about the intersections of speciesism, racism, and sexism, with some advocates highlighting how discrimination against animals often mirrors patterns of discrimination against marginalized human groups. There is a call for solidarity across these movements, emphasizing the need for a comprehensive understanding of justice that encompasses all beings capable of suffering. The discussions surrounding animal rights also invite considerations about how we legislate and enforce protections for animals. Countries around the world vary significantly in their approach to animal welfare laws, with some having stringent protections in place, while others have minimal regulations. This disparity can lead to significant suffering for countless animals. Advocates for animal rights encourage the adoption of stronger legal frameworks that provide better protections and promote cruelty-free practices. In recent years, advances in technology and an increased understanding of animal intelligence have further complicated the debate. Research has demonstrated that many animal species exhibit complex social behaviors, problem-solving capabilities, and forms of communication. For example, studies on elephants reveal their deep social bonds and ability to mourn their deceased companions, highlighting a depth of emotional experience previously unacknowledged. Such revelations challenge previously held notions about the supposed superiority of human beings, prompting renewed calls for moral consideration of all sentient creatures. To navigate the challenges of the animal rights debate requires an ongoing dialogue that evolves with new knowledge and perspectives. Engaging with various viewpoints can deepen our understanding of our relationship with animals and help us consider the ethical ramifications of our decisions. Whether it is reflecting on the dietary choices we make, contemplating the ethical treatment of pets, or advocating for animal conservation, these discussions encourage a more compassionate interaction with the world around us. As we explore the complexities of animal rights, it becomes clear that the conversation is not merely about the moral status of animals, but also about human responsibility. The choices we make reflect our values, and grappling with these philosophical questions can empower individuals and society to foster a more humane world. Ultimately, the enduring inquiry into animal rights invites us to reflect on our own values, encouraging a sense of empathy and connection with all living beings. Through this lens, we can envision a future where the welfare of animals is prioritized alongside human flourishing, creating a more ethical society for generations to come. Ontology is a fascinating branch of philosophy that dives deep into the very essence of being, existence, and reality itself. Imagine pondering what it means to exist, what it truly means to be. This inquiry goes beyond mere physical presence. It touches on questions of identity, substance, and the nature of objects in our world. Let's start with the concept of being. To explore this is to engage with the myriad questions about what makes something exist. Is it enough for an object to occupy space and time? Or must it also possess certain qualities or attributes? For instance, consider a tree. It stands tall, rooted in the ground, and is very much present in our world. However, its existence is not just about its physical form. It has characteristics. It produces oxygen, provides shade, and supports ecosystems. This leads us to think, do these attributes contribute to the tree's being? Or is it solely the physical structure that defines it? As we consider this deeply, we encounter the notion of categories. In ontology, we often classify entities into different types. Think of how we distinguish between living beings and inanimate objects. A dog, for example, is categorically different from a rock. This differentiation helps us navigate our understanding of the world. Yet, what if we take it a step further and question the nature of these categories themselves? Are they fixed, or do they evolve based on our experiences and insights? This ongoing dialogue about classification is essential to the study of ontology. Next, let's delve into the idea of existence itself. When we talk about existence, we often reflect on the various forms it can take. Every day, we encounter a wide array of entities. Some are tangible, like the books on our shelves, while others are intangible, such as concepts like love or justice. These abstract ideas can be just as real, shaping our lives and understanding of the world. This raises the intriguing question: does something need a physical form to be considered real? Furthermore, ontology explores the relationship between objects and their properties. Consider a simple stone. What attributes define it? Its weight, color, and texture all contribute to our understanding of the stone as an object. But what happens when we change those properties? If we were to paint the stone a bright hue, does it still retain its identity as a stone? Through this lens, ontology pushes us to confront our intuitions about identity and change. Another important aspect of ontology is the concept of universals and particulars. This debate examines whether properties exist independently of the objects they belong to. For example, when we think of the color red, is it a standalone concept that exists everywhere, or is it only present in specific red objects, like a cherry or a fire truck? Engaging with this line of thought encourages deeper reflection on how we perceive the world and categorize our experiences. As we navigate ontological questions, we inevitably bump into the works of influential philosophers. Figures like Aristotle and Kant have made significant contributions to our understanding of existence and reality. Aristotle proposed that reality consists of substances that have specific attributes, laying the groundwork for much of Western thought. In contrast, Kant challenged traditional views by asserting that our understanding is shaped by both our experiences and the categories of the mind. Such philosophical explorations continue to influence contemporary discussions about existence. Moving into the modern era, ontology has found applications in various fields. Take artificial intelligence and computer science, for instance. The concept of an ontology in these areas formalizes information about various entities, helping systems understand and interpret data. This intersection illustrates how ancient philosophical questions about existence remain relevant, even as technology advances. Finally, let's not forget the personal aspect of ontology. We all grapple with our sense of identity and existence as we move through life. Who are we in relation to others? What roles do we play in our communities? These questions not only highlight our individual experiences, but also reveal how interconnected we are in the vast web of existence. In conclusion, ontology invites us to engage with profound questions about the nature of reality, urging us to think critically and deeply about the world around us. Whether it is the nature of objects, the categorization of entities, or the exploration of our own identities, this philosophical journey enriches our understanding of existence. By reflecting on these themes, we open ourselves to a broader appreciation of the intricate tapestry of life we inhabit, allowing us to see the beauty of existence in all its forms. Moral absolutism is a fascinating concept in the field of ethics, asserting that some actions are inherently right or wrong, no matter the circumstances surrounding them. This viewpoint suggests that there are fundamental principles that hold true across different cultures, societies, and situations. To understand this idea, consider the contrast with moral relativism, which argues that moral judgments are shaped by cultural context and individual beliefs. Imagine a situation where a person must choose between telling the truth and protecting a loved one from harm. A moral absolutist would argue that lying is always wrong, regardless of the intention behind the lie. This perspective is rooted in the belief that certain moral truths are universal. For example, many absolutists believe that concepts like human rights are non-negotiable, and that actions such as theft or murder are wrong, irrespective of any potential justifications that might be offered. Throughout history, various ethical frameworks have sought to articulate these absolute principles. For instance, Immanuel Kant, an influential philosopher, championed the idea of duty-based ethics, proposing the, quote, categorical imperative. This principle suggests that individuals should act according to maxims that could be universally applied. For Kant, if it is wrong to lie, then one must never lie, as this would be an act that could not be universally endorsed. His approach advocates for moral actions dictated by reason, emphasizing that individuals are required to treat others as ends in themselves, not merely as means to an end. Consider the implications of moral absolutism in scenarios like the debate around torture. An absolutist stance would hold that torture is categorically wrong, no matter the intentions behind it or the possible outcomes, such as obtaining critical information. This view raises important questions about the boundaries of ethics and the nature of moral judgments. If certain actions are always deemed unacceptable, the absolutist theory provides a clear framework for moral decision-making, but can also lead to contentious discussions about circumstances that might compel individuals to act against established norms. In contrast, the moral relativist might argue that the context is crucial. They would point to cultural practices that, while shocking to outsiders, may be seen as acceptable within that culture. This perspective allows for a wider interpretation of morality, recognizing the diversity of human experiences. However, critics of moral relativism argue that this can lead to moral ambiguity, where any behavior could be justified based on cultural or situational factors, undermining the pursuit of justice and universal human rights. Moral absolutism has its supporters and detractors, each offering compelling arguments. Proponents claim that having clear moral standards provides a stable foundation for societies, promoting justice and ethical behavior. This framework can foster a sense of community and shared values, essential for social cohesion. On the other hand, critics contend that rigid moral standards may overlook the complexity of human circumstances, leading to a lack of compassion or understanding in nuanced situations. Consider the issue of environmental ethics. An absolutist might argue that harming the planet is inherently wrong, advocating for strict environmental protection laws to prevent any detrimental actions, regardless of economic considerations. This viewpoint emphasizes the responsibility humans have toward preserving the Earth. In contrast, a relativist might argue that economic development could justify certain actions that harm the environment, highlighting the tension between moral convictions and practical realities. Another area where moral absolutism sparks debate is in discussions around capital punishment. Some hold the unwavering belief that taking a life is always wrong, regardless of the situation. They argue that no societal benefit can justify the intentional ending of a human life. Others argue for the necessity of capital punishment in certain cases, invoking a situational analysis that considers the consequences of both actions and inactions. This presents a vivid illustration of the friction between absolutist and relativist perspectives. Moral absolutism also intersects with the concept of ethics in law, where legal systems often impose absolute standards. For example, laws against murder and theft are rooted in a belief that these actions are inherently wrong. In this framework, the law serves as a reflection of moral absolutes that society agrees upon, aiming to protect individuals and maintain order. This legal absolutism can lead to debates about justice, as the rigidity of laws may sometimes clash with the complexities of individual cases. In conclusion, moral absolutism posits that certain actions possess a universal moral status, providing a framework that is both clear and sometimes contentious. It encourages strong moral standards that transcend cultural boundaries, fostering a dialogue about what principles should govern human behavior. Although this perspective offers a sense of decisiveness in ethical discussions, it also invites important questions about human circumstances and the nature of morality itself. Through examining various scenarios and philosophical arguments, one can appreciate the intricate dance between clarity and complexity within the realm of ethics, ultimately enriching the conversation on what it means to live a morally responsible life.